We just want to take a moment to set the tone for our conversation. And it's a lecture format. Once our master instructors step up, our international instructor steps up and takes the what we call the talking stick. But uh, for us, it's a conversation. By that I mean engage the material, be open to it, listen to it, uh, make mental notes, uh, checkpoints in your mind and in your heart about what's being shared, and you'll get more out of the session. Instead of just kind of sitting like a, a bump on a log, like a rock. You know, engage the information. Do it internally, but engage the information. And we want to take this moment as we open up to invite any guest or anyone that's new to the class. Uh, there's a saying that we hear in parts of the United States is uh, "Mi casa su casa." You know, my home is your home. So we want that kind of a welcome. We want you to feel that and know that you are welcome to our learning environment, and that you is just as important part of this environment as any one of us. So there's a in any connection or in any conversation, there's one that's giving and there's one that's receiving. So you're just as important. It's reciprocal. So with that, we'll open Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and we'll actually begin with Surah Al-Ham. Uh, Much of the world still know it as Al-Fatiha, but we acknowledge Al-Ham as the more appropriate title for the first surah in the Quran. And I'll just recite it. I'll just do it in the Quranic Arabic. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العظيم. And we'll start our class as we usually do. It's become a tradition. And I think it's a good tradition to start everything and in recognition the fact that uh, we're always in the presence of our uh, source creator. And I say our because there's that kind of, again, that relationship that we as Muslims experience, a personal, both a general kind of attachment and a very personal one to source creator. And if you haven't stepped into that space, I welcome you to do that. To identify uh, a very personal relationship with source creator. But let's take the moment and think of some things, at least 10 of them, that you have to be grateful for, that you're thankful for in your life. I like to start myself. I like to reflect internally first and then look at the external things, the things that we consider external. But just 10 things, just 10. Uh, we know that actually you can spend the whole class doing that, just being grateful. And then some. You can spend your whole life actually uh, identifying things that each one of us had to be grateful for, and you wouldn't exhaust the things that Source Creator, that Allah has given us uh, so abundantly. So just take a few moments. I usually like to start with the breath. All right, I'm looking forward to today's class. just in the way of announcing, so you know where we're headed on this ride and this journey. Of course, I'll start uh, from the highlight, of course, which is International Instructor Benjamin Bilal, and he's going to share with us something that's, I think, that's of immediate importance in the world today. And I think for us as learners, as instructors, it's critically important for us. He's going to share uh, some insight on chronic sounds, proto roots, and root words. That's the topic and theme for today. And to prepare the way for him, uh, his spouse, uh, master instructor in her own right, Sister Karima Medina Bilal, is going to address a subject that's definitely always in front of my mind, and that's a subject of living long. She's talking about. She's going to introduce to us this very timely concept: live long and prosper, longevity medicine. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll just give some introductory remarks to kind of set the stage so that everyone that's with us, especially those of you who are new to the class, we want you to relax. Uh, Again, you are an integral part already, even though it might be your first opportunity to join us. Uh, you are just as welcome and important as anyone else. And I want you to feel that and experience that. And I want you to enjoy the ride, because we're constantly moving. That Karima's going to talk about life, and life is movement. If there's no movement, there's no life. So enjoy this ride. Enjoy this ride. Uh, you shouldn't. We shouldn't. I should say. We should not be the same person today that we were yesterday. We should have engaged the environment. We should have taken the time to go inward and thought about things. We check our feelings, our emotional state, examine our behavior, the things that we did yesterday, bringing us into today, and we should learn from the life experience that we were gifted from yesterday to today, and we should move forward with it. So we should be open to expansion. The universe is constantly expanding, it's constantly growing, and we want to be alive. And in the subject matter that Karima will be sharing with us today, live long don't mean just to exist. The more you engage the fitra, Mother Nature, the more you engage that, the more you expand, the more you give attention to it. And as you expand, the creation itself expands. So it's that reciprocal kind of process that Allah has established in this whole life experience. So just want to share a few things with you, especially with the kind of subject matter that we're looking forward to in our class today. Uh, Today is day 7 for me, and a second time around that my oldest son invited me to go on a 40-day journey with him in something called original strength training. It's fitness training procedure where we actually reset the basic movements of life, of human life, that the newborn baby experiences uh, from uh, from day one. Actually, it starts with the breath, with the breathing, the movement of the breath. Again, that's what indicates that the newborn baby is actually alive. That's the first thing that who's ever attending the birth process, they want to see. They want to see some movement, and that first movement would be the breath. You know, so there's some basic moves from birth to about 3 or 4 years old, that the newborn baby experiences, that sets the stage not only for its movement for the rest of its life, its physical movement, but also its mental and emotional movement. And it's actually tied to those physical movements. Some amazing things I discovered the first time, I think back in April, when my son and I went on that 40-day journey. And so we're doing it again. We're 7 days out right now. So I just want to share that with you because we need to know each other as class members. I was talking to one of the class members just yesterday, and we were discussing just that, the need for us to get to know each other. It's like we're on this journey together, and you want to know who's riding with you, you know, and life is it's a journey. It's also a game. It's a very serious game, but it's also a joyful process, as any game is intended to be. So we should engage it. A lot tells us, you know, uh, to to think deep, to take advantage of all that been made available to us, to take advantage of that, the whole life, the internal life, and the scientists have agreed that 99.9 whatever percentage of the experience is internal, and we want to engage that. But a lot tells us, don't forget about your share, my share. Don't forget about the dunya. So the whole of the life, the whole of the life is what we want to enjoy and engage. So in this journey, connection is extremely important, extremely important. So again, for all of you who are new in this class environment, we welcome you. And if you have any questions, feel free. As when International Instructor Benjamin Bilal actually starts his presentation, he'll kind of set the stage in terms of whether he wants to open it up to questions during the presentations or afterwards, or whether he wants you to write them down. He'll let you know. And Karima, Master Instructor Karima, will do the same kind of thing to let you know that if you have any questions or any comments, whether they want to make it a conversation during their presentation or afterwards. So with that, again, just kind of sharing some of the things that's happening here in the Atlanta area. That's where I'm based right now, out of Atlanta. And I chose Atlanta for a very particular reason. First one was, of course, my grandkids were here. That was number one. And number two, I looked at my whole life experience and see what was the main thing that stands out in my life experience, and it was serving the community. And so I was looking for an urban environment that would be suitable for my elder years and continuing that process of serving community, but doing it on a global level. So that's what drew me to Atlanta. And I've come full circle in the last 11 or 12 years here. And at this point, I'm actually, that service has taken the form of working with a group of young African American men, not exclusively, but that's the group as it's organized right now. And there are several young women that's involved, their spouses, and some close, some other people that are kind of supportive of them in their journey of life in their 30s and 40s. So I'm working with them, serving them as a elder component in the mix. I'm offering myself on a consultant, coaching, tutoring kind of basis. And to get that process started, they asked me to formally do some presentations. So I wanted to give my best. you know. And so I drew from my 78 years of life in this, I like to call this carbon 12 suit, this human body, these 78 years. I wanted to give my best to them so that they can see where it might fit them and trying uh, to secure their journey, their path, and to be able to learn from the things I've learned that worked for me and the things that didn't work so well. And so the way I did that, I said, let me share uh, my understanding and perception of how this universe works. And it sounds like a big topic, but if you will open yourself up, Allah will guide you. And I always say that, I love that uh, uh, idea that Allah gives us in the Quran, that the one who created me will guide me. you know so if you open yourself up and step into a situation and you take this step, you don't have to know it all, you don't have to know exactly what you're going to say, what you're going to experience, but you just got to be willing and to step into the situation, and things will come together if you will have the courage to step out and act on what you have faith in. I didn't say believe, I said have faith in. Which means, as instructor has shared with us on several occasions, many occasions, that it's different between faith and belief. When we're talking belief, then that's something that anyone can have, and uh, and it doesn't have to be tied to reality. We used to believe when we were kids, and we were told that this, given this myth, this story about Santa Claus, and we believed it. Didn't have to be real, but for us, it was real in our little minds. But faith is when you have some evidence, Someone has done whatever you have faith in, and you have some proof, something you can look at. So your faith is not blind faith. It's based upon some experience. It's based upon some knowledge and the application of that knowledge. So what we're doing uh, in this exchange I'm having with these young people here in the Atlanta area, we have engaged a subject matter that we've entitled the seven universal laws, uh, and those universal laws have to do with what we call in our genetics environment, we call it form and function, but it has to do with uh, the guidelines that Allah has placed in throughout the whole universe. Uh, I overheard a discussion that our international instructor was having with one of our newer class members here recently, and they were looking at this idea of uh, engagement engagement uh, of the fitra, and it's the engagement of the fitra, the natural order, and looking at uh, the patterns that Allah have established in everything in creation. Allah has established patterns to guide us and to govern our thinking, to govern our emotional state, to govern our behavior, their patterns. So we don't have to guess uh, about this thing that we call human life. We have guidance that's built in us. The guidance is above us, it's below us, it's all around us, and it's inside of us. You know, so we engage these universal laws, seven of them, and Allah points us to the seven oft repeated. And so I thought that it would be appropriate to take the beginning of the Quran as it's presented to us, uh, uh, and look at those seven ayat and allow that to be let that be uh, the thing that we would look look at and depend upon to address those 7 principles that govern life. And I won't go into any detail with that other than to let you know that it's been very well received. I'm hearing the language environment that some of us have been exposed to for years. And in this short period of time, we've been doing this. We just finished our 5th session, so we have 2 more to do in this particular series. But these young people already, and many of them have not studied the Quran. Some of them not familiar with it at all. But they are already using the language environment. They're using terms like kun fayakun, terms like the fitra. I mean, already, and so they are incorporating it into their life. They have their spouses listening in. They're employing it in their business practices. They're going out to the community, and they want to join us in forming. Several of them want to join us in forming a mastermind, so that we can put our hearts and minds together and come up with some strategy based upon universal principle and law. So it's been a good experience. There's several of you have attended and supported in that class environment. So I want to thank you. Especially, I want to give a special shout out, if you will, to Bayina Hamid. She has definitely been present and contributing, and her involvement have been very instrumental in terms of not only conveying the fact that we have women that think on the level that she thinks on and moves on, but we have people that are also thinking at a level of that many would consider uh, uh, a, a higher level of thinking, but she's also applying it on a daily basis, and she's actually serving young people at the kindergarten, 1st grade level. She's taking the information, she's putting it in a format where those young minds can absorb it and identify with it. And so her presence in the class environment has been very rewarding. And so I just want to make sure that she knows that her participation is appreciated. So with that,
Assalamu alaikum.
walaikum salam.
Uh, I I I make that statement that you did. I agree 1,000%. We appreciate her contributions to New Next. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed, indeed, and especially the part which I think in terms of taking the information, and this is key for me. What I bring to the table is I like to take knowledge and use it. All that I can use, I like to use it. You know, and she does that. She's doing that. She's taking the information that she's an excellent researcher, but she's taking that information and she's using it, serving the needs in the community and in her life. So again, Diana, thank you very much. All right, with that, I am anxious to hear from our one of our master instructors, and like I shared with you at the beginning of my remarks about this original strength fitness training that I'm involved in. Uh, I like long life. I just like the thought of it. My dad lived to be 1 day short of 101, and I don't remember the exact age when my grandfather uh, passed, but he was near there if he wasn't there. And I can remember a couple of my uncles were so uh, some people would say they call that having good genes. uh, but anyway, uh, I'm anxious to hear from her to learn what I can do to kind of preserve the legacy in the Sapphire line. So that I can learn some whatever I can do to try to preserve this life that Allah has gifted us with and take better care of it. So if you are ready, Master Instructor uh, Karima Medina Bilal, we are ready for you.
Well, you're a tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. Peace and health. Peace and health to each and every one of you that is within the sound of my voice. As Instructor Safir just told you, I'm Karima Medina Bilal, and if you are new to this channel and to this presentation, welcome. Great big hearty North Carolina welcome to you. And I intend to speak with you today about something near and dear to my heart, near and dear to my heart, and that is health. That is health, that is healing. And I've entitled my presentation, Live Long and Prosper, with a definite salute and shout out to Mr. Spock. I've always loved that. Live Long and Prosper. And the subtitle is Longevity Medicine. Longevity Medicine. You might rightfully ask, what is longevity medicine? And I would refer you to, hmm, well, before I do that, let me go to uh, a prelude, an introduction of sorts. And it's a testimony to how thoughts are magnets, how thoughts are magnets, and what you focus on expands. I am constantly astonished, not just surprised, but astonished at how often things that I have given a casual thought to, but feel strongly about, seem to just find their way into my environment. And it may be that I was thinking about something and then I go to Instagram, which strangely enough, I don't generally do. More on that later. Or YouTube, which I go to frequently. And you might say, well, this is just the algorithm. And the algorithm is designed to follow up on the things that you indicate that you're interested in. But it happens far too often for me to just write it off as random. And it can be where I haven't even consulted or even voiced the interest that I have, and it comes to me through an email, or it comes through me through a phone call, or somebody else that I was just talking to. And so I want to reassure you that what you focus on expands. I'm one who focuses almost to a fault on health and how to help and how to help humanity heal itself. I don't believe that we providers heal anybody. The Creator heals. We who consider ourselves assistants and servants, the best that we can do is assist in the process and help people stop hurting themselves, which they do largely out of ignorance. And if not out of ignorance, through how shall I say, enforced addictions. Enforced addictions. These are things that society not only promotes, but enforces. And you're going to see what I mean when I say enforces as we begin to explore lab tests and the different ways that the establishment, the medical establishment, the medical machine, as you've heard me refer to it many times, how they reinforce certain standards, which I think do a great deal of harm to humanity. So as I do this, I want you to think about the previous hashtags. They should be websites, but I'm still learning the tech of it, where I speak about managing your health yourself. Help me help myself, your home health clinic, establishing your home health clinic, your home kitchen clinic, and your home hospital. And you'll see why this matters as I proceed. So there I was the other night. I woke up and couldn't go back to sleep. And I just chanced to Instagram to just occupy my mind until I got sleepy again. And what popped up but someone that I have never seen anything from before. And his name is Dr. Vasily. Dr. Vasily. I do not know the gentleman, never met him, never heard of him before, but I was thoroughly hooked on his channel based upon this first post. He's got several of them, over 100 of them, as a matter of fact. But this one got me hard, and it was entitled "The Five Blood Work Numbers I Refuse to Ignore." The five blood work numbers I refuse to ignore. Now, here is a sidebar for all of my senior brothers and sisters. Learn how to use your phone and make yourself acquainted, get acquainted with Instagram and YouTube. These are great, great sources of information. Of course, there's a lot of dross, a lot of worthless chatter that goes on in these channels. However, you can look up on some nuggets, as I have done here, and you'll find some things that are very, very, very useful. So, who is this Dr. Vasily and why should you care? Well, he will tell you that he has an MD from Cornell and he has established a practice in something called longevity medicine. Longevity medicine is a very interesting thing. You see, when you have money, you can access levels of healthcare that people who do not have money uh, would have to go through a lot of changes to get. It's not that you can't have it. I'm about to tell you how you can. But your doctor, if you're a veteran, you're not going to see this at the VA. If you have Medicare and you go through managed care plans, you're not going to see this there. This is something that people who, let's say you're a CEO and you're about to be hired by some large firm, maybe it's a financial firm, and they're about to pay you some ridiculously high salary, or $500,000, $1 million plus kind of salary. Before they take you on, they want to know that you're in good health so that you can deliver the goods. And they would subject you to the kind of, I wouldn't say subject you, they're going to require you to go through the kinds of screenings that this fellow, Dr. Vasily, offers. And as a matter of fact, if you decide to click on the different pages that are available through his at the end of his post, you will see that he offers something on the order of a club that he only takes 50 members per year into, and you have to go through a screening process so that you can become one of those people. And you get a consultation, a free consultation before they decide to accept you. And I guarantee you that they're going to ask you, are you financially, some kind of way, they're going to ask you, are you financially able to participate? And it will be cash, it will not be insurance. And why is that? Because insurance and the medical industry in general are not interested in prevention. They are interested in disease management. Now, think about that. Do you want to manage an insect infestation in your home, or do you want to eradicate it and decrease the chances that it will recur? Remember, if you're part of this class, language is everything. So disease management is not structured around eradicating the disease. No, not in this country. And despite the fact that it kills way more people than any epidemic has done, it does it on a routine basis every year, every second, every minute, not only in the United States, but across the world, as you'll see shortly. Diseases, preventable diseases, things that you can do that the establishment can do to eradicate and prevent the diseases, they don't do. Now, why is that? We'll go into that later. Call me conspiracy person if you want to. My name is Karima, but you can call me conspiracy. So here's what happens. Every year, most people have an annual exam. And in these annual exams, they do labs, blood tests. And what this means is that once per year, you find out if you have a disease. Think about that. Versus, as this gentleman, Dr. Vasili, suggests, every 3 months. Now, there are some people who have declared and clearly diagnosed disease processes like diabetes, like kidney disease, like heart disease, liver disease, things of that sort. And they will be seen and they will be tested every 3 months for a disease that they already have. That's not what we're discussing here. What this gentleman is proposing are the labs that predict longevity outcomes. Now, who among us does not want to live a long time? And I don't mean just a long time, but a long time and be healthy, a long time and be strong, a long time and be in your right mind. I personally do not wish to live to be 100 and be uh, demented and on 15, 20 different meds, just waiting for the next stroke or the next heart attack to take me out. I do not wish to live that way. But ask me, do I wish to live to be 100, be hale and hearty, to be like these people that I have seen on YouTube in what they call the blue zones, such as Okinawa, Japan, where people live to be 100 and they're working, pursuing the things that they always wanted to do when they grew up, and they're healthy and they're living a robust and hearty life. That's what I want. That's what I want. And that's what this gentleman is proposing. And since he crammed a lot of information into a reel that's about a minute, I'm breaking it down and explaining it to you, my people herein defined as people who are proactive in managing their health themselves, not by themselves, but actively participating in their health, maximizing outcomes. People who want to be in control of what happens to them, that want to direct things that are done for them and be a part of the team. Those are my people. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your ethnicity is. I don't care what your religion is. It matters not, because the beautiful thing about being a human being is that we all have certain things in common. First and foremost, we are members of the human race. There is only one race, my people, one race. Many ethnicities, many cultures, but one race. And you see that when you're dealing with human bodies. You see it very clearly, right? So, what he's proposing, or what he's elaborating quite clearly here, is annual labs catch active disease. You get your labs done once per year, you're going to see something that has already happened. Whereas when you do it every quarter, a quarter being every 3 months, 4 times per year, you can catch the trends, the trends that become disease. Huh? In other words, the difference between them is you've got 11 months of warning, of foreknowledge, so that you can make an intervention that may change and likely will, change the outcome. Now think about that. We have a saying in the Quran. I think it's the Quran, but if it's not the Quran, it's the religion al-Islam that says, live each day as if you knew you were going to live 1,000 years. I'm pretty sure that's a hadith, but also live each day as if you knew you were going to die tomorrow. So extrapolating that, if you knew that you might die in a year, but you had a chance to prevent it, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't it make all the sense in the world to do it? Well, that's the heads up you get when you do your labs quarterly. So just to underscore that, I looked up the top 10 leading causes of death in the United States, according to the Center for Disease Control. You would know this as the CDC. And what have they elaborated? Number one cause of death, heart disease. Over 683,000 deaths per year of heart disease. The pandemic numbers didn't come anywhere near the United States. And we know strategies, we have proven strategies, as you're about to see, that can prevent this. Now, why don't we do it? To be continued, to be answered as we proceed. Next one, cancer. 619,000 plus deaths. Now, this is what's reported. Unintentional deaths and injuries. Somebody falls, they have a car accident, they overdosed on medications. Don't get me started on death by medicine by Gary. No, don't get me started. Right? These certainly would be overdoses from fentanyl and other kinds of so-called recreational drugs. But there are millions of people that die over the course of the decades from legally prescribed, properly taken drugs. And you can understand how this can happen when the average person over 65 is on more than 5 medicines. Huh? And you have to question how many of those are really necessary. I've gone into that before. See my previous video on iatrogenesis. Don't be afraid of the word iatrogenesis. These are unintentional harm caused by the healthcare itself. Stroke, chronic lower respiratory diseases, right? This would be COPD and asthma. Alzheimer's disease, and you can group diabetes and Alzheimer's together since it is now widely recognized and acknowledged that Alzheimer's disease is type 3 diabetes. Interesting. Kidney disease, most common cause of kidney disease is high blood pressure and diabetes. Chronic liver disease and cirrhosis. If you take out drug-induced, as in alcohol or intravenous drug use, cirrhosis of the liver, chronic liver disease also happens because of fatty liver disease. So if you look at these, we have 10, and there's also suicide, 10 leading causes of death in the US, and 7 of them are related to metabolic dysfunction. Fancy word, metabolic, the way your body processes food and nutrients. Dysfunction, it ain't working right. Now we have an important part to play in that, because I maintain, as many awakening providers maintain, is that does not have to be. We can't do anything about what you're born with. Well, there are some who would say if you aggressively and intentionally educate mothers about prenatal care and how you prepare yourself for pregnancy, some might say that a woman whose nutritional status is optimized, who's got all of the vitamins and minerals and eats the correct way, a lot of those things might be avoided. A lot of those birth defects might be avoided. You can't do much about the genes at this point, but there are things we say genes are the gun, but lifestyle and diet is the trigger. So some might say, as I say, there's a lot we can do about even genetically acquired problems. I continue. So the first test that he recommends is something called ApoB, ApoB, APOB. And the target, he suggests, is that it's under 60. The result is under 60. And he says this is the single most modifiable, meaning risk factor that you can change, a risk factor that you have a way of changing. So you'll naturally ask, well, what is ApoB? Not a POB. ApoB, as in apolipoprotein B. What is a lipoprotein? It is a fat that is linked to a protein. Anytime you see the word lipo, right? When you see lipo, lipo means fat. So the medical word for that is lipo. So apolipoprotein B, what is it? It is a protein that acts as a name tag on harmful plaque-forming cholesterol particles. So let's break that down. What is a plaque? It's the gunk that forms on your arteries, the walls of your arteries, the walls of your blood vessels, but most specifically your arteries. And cholesterol is a form of fat, a very necessary fat. And it's important here that you understand that not all cholesterol is the same. I'm trying my best to keep it simple. Part of my process here is to educate you about medical language, help you decipher medical language, right? So the things that we eat, as we digest them, they have to travel through the blood vessels. So it goes from your mouth to your stomach to your intestines, and from your intestines, it's absorbed, and it's absorbed into your blood vessels. Now, there are different sizes of particles, and some of them are soft, like a beach ball, and some of them are hard, like a golf ball. Now, why is this important? Because blood is pumped through your arteries at high velocity, at high speed, at high pressure, which we can measure by your blood pressure. Now, imagine that a golf ball is shot out from your heart and it bumps into your blood vessels. Well, it's going to injure your blood vessel. And the way the Creator made our bodies is it's very sensitive to detecting injury. And if it detects an injury to your blood vessels, then it's going to send materials there to fix that injury, because blood vessels have to be smooth as glass for the blood to, we tend to think blood is just red liquid. It isn't. It's more like a stew. It's got nutrient particles in it. It's got several different kinds of cells in it. And some of those nutrient particles are fats, which we call lipids. And since oil and water or fat and water don't mix, body in its infinite brilliance joins fat to a protein so it can travel through the blood and get to where it's going. Generally, it's going to get to your waist Most of us eat a lot more than we need, and that fat particle is going to go to the liver, and the liver is going to dispense it, put it someplace where it's going to be out of the way, and that's either going to be around the liver itself, or it's going to be, in the case of glucose, transformed into a storage form called glycogen, or it's going to be turned into cholesterol. Hmm? So that's a real quick and general description of the process of what happens to food. But for your purposes here, we want to be concerned with the size of the particle, right? So imagine you go to the beach and you get sand on you. Those are small, clinging, annoying particles, which, if they get to sensitive areas, will rub you and cause damage to you. I want you to think of those small lipoprotein B particles like that. But imagine that instead of it being your skin, it's the inside of your blood vessels. And these particles are hard, just the way sand might be. And left over a period of time, these will damage the walls of your blood vessel, and your brilliant body will send material to spackle it over. Another way to look at that is you're in your home and you're throwing things, your child is throwing things against the wall. Well, if it throws a beach ball or a foam ball against the wall, no big deal. But if it throws a golf ball or some other kind of hard ball against the wall, it's going to make a dent. And in order to fix that, you're going to have to spackle it over. That's what our bodies do. And that's what plaques are. Now, why would you care? If you spackle it over, you'd think that that's the end of it. But the problem is that over a period of time, these plaques become hard. We call that calcified. And the velocity, the speed, and the pressure at which blood is forced through your blood vessels can cause some of those spackles or those patches, which we call plaques, to break off. And if it does, now we have a problem. Because as it comes out of the arteries, where's it going to go? Well, it's going to come first out of your heart. It gets stuck in your heart. Now we got a heart attack. It goes to your lungs. Oh no, now we got a pulmonary embolism. It goes to your brain, you got a stroke. It settles into the arteries of the big arteries of your legs. Now you've got peripheral artery disease. You see how that matters? So all that said, what do you get measured, or what gets measured when you have your annual exam? Well, they will measure a big category called lipids. Think of this as a big container that has different kinds of balls in it: beach balls, foam balls, small hard golf balls. It measures the amount of them, but the ApoB test measures the total number of hard damaging particles in your blood, which make it a more accurate predictor. Key word here, predictor. We don't want to just know that they exist. We want to know, is it capable, is it likely to cause harm? And if we knew that in advance, then people might be motivated, not everybody, but people might be motivated to make the changes that can decrease that risk. And it can be decreased. Unfortunately, that's not good profit generating strategy. Could we call it a discussion, a heated discussion? If you can say that you have a heated discussion with AI, I had one of those just prior to this to this broadcast. And I was saying, why don't they do this? If we know this, if there's a way to measure it, we already know that it kills more than 500,000 people a year just with heart disease. That's not including stroke. We already know this. Why don't they measure it? Why is it not standardized? Why isn't this just a big part of the conversation and commercials and stuff on it, the way we see commercials for drugs? I just answered the question. It's no problem. You have to remember disease management, not disease eradication, disease management. Health is not profitable, not health as we know it. Health care is very profitable. So they asked and I got this, by the way, I got this information from ChatGPT, right? Make use of ChatGPT. Now, I have the advantage that the general party, the general population does not have. Before there were computers, dinosaurs like me and other members of the medical profession, we had medical books. Now, the average person, unless you choose to buy it, would not have access to medical books because way back, it's not that far back, there were no computers. When I went to school, there weren't any. You had books, and the books were written in medical language. So even if the average person had such a book, they generally would not understand what they were reading. And you'd have to go to many of them. So there's ones on internal medicine, there's ones on gastroenterology, there's ones on all the specialties you might think of. So to get the information, you'd have to have access to several reference books. Now you can go to ChatGPT, you can go to Gemini, you can go to Claude, you can go to XAI. There's all these different AI sites that you can go to, and you can plug in the question, and you can get in seconds things that might have taken providers, especially ones trying to get their doctorates, would have taken a year of research to come together with. I mean, in seconds. So now, in the caveat here is you have to ask the right question in order to get the right answer. So when I tell you I was going back and forth with ChatGPT, which is what I use, it was quite fun. At the end of it, I got the answers I want, which I'm going to share with you. So if you want to understand apolipoprotein B, just put in ChatGPT or Claude or whichever one you use, explain in simple terms ApoB, and you'll get it. So seniors become literate. So here it is. They said, because I asked it, explained it in simple terms, explain lipoproteins and and lipids in simple language. So they said to make it click for patients, try comparing a standard. I want my computer to go out. Hold on one second. Try explaining a standard. Shucks. A standard test to a rush hour traffic. So it says to make it click for patients, count how many passengers are on the road. The standard test counts how many there are. Heavy traffic, light traffic. ApoB counts the exact number of cars, which is the particles themselves and the size of the particles. So the more cars on the road, the higher chances of an accident, which is plaque formation. Why does ApoB matter? People with metabolic issues like prediabetes or high triglycerides often have smaller, denser cholesterol particles, those golf balls I was talking about. So their standard lipid count might look fine, but they may be having a large number of small particles that can be dangerously high. And so what do you do about it? That's what this doctor was saying. Instead of once a year, when the presence of those particles might cause a great deal of trouble and you have 11 months to fix it, he's saying monitor it quarterly. I mean, instead of doing it annually, and then it's got 11 months to cause you problems, do it every 3 months so you can see whether your exercise program, what you're eating, the medications that you're taking, the supplements that you're taking are actually making a difference. And if they're not, you can up your game. Here's the next one they talk about: fasting insulin. Oh, I know why the problem is. I didn't plug it in. Hold on one second, people. Wahi has just struck my brain. There we go. Don't get old. Don't get old and senile. Simple things like, let's plug in the computer. I continue. Fasting insulin. Now, you have heard me go on and on about this for several episodes. The earliest signal that you are on the road that leads to diabetes, or as we would broadly say, metabolic dysfunction, where your engine is going to spaz out because it's getting gunked up. Insulin is a great marker because it shows abnormalities 5 to 10 years, says ChatGPT. Other experts who do nothing but research on these matters, they say decades, 10 to 20 years before the A1C, which measures your glucose over the past 3 months, shows changes. So imagine that. That's your check engine light. Your metabolic activity, that's your check engine light. That lets you know how well your engine is burning your fuel. So this is something that you have to know. So most providers don't measure that. And that bothers me. And then I asked ChatGPT, how come they don't measure that? And ChatGPT says, well, it's because the test isn't standardized. Okay, let's accept that for a moment. We do have a range. We do know that very low indicates, or none, indicates low insulin activity. And we know that's typically seen in people who have type 1 diabetes. We also, if it was measured, it is clear that people that have really high insulin levels are people who are insulin resistant. And if it continues to rise, it's going to get to a point where the pancreas can no longer keep up. It's like trying to push something large through a small hole, or it's like trying to push a door open when there's a bunch of stuff stacked on the other side. Eventually, you're just going to get exhausted and give up. And this is what the pancreas does. In insulin resistance, you start out, you have in type 2 diabetes, you start out, you have enough insulin, sugar goes up, insulin level goes up. Okay, but if the sugar level goes very high and stays that way, then the insulin level is also going to have to go up high and stay that way. And both of those substances in the blood are damaging to blood vessels. So it's the equivalent of detecting a leak in your roof early. You can wait until the ceiling falls down if you must, or if you want to choose to ignore it. But isn't it nice to have the early warning? Isn't it nice to have your check engine lights come on? Well, you can say, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And eventually the engine stops. But it's not because you didn't have the warning. It's that you chose to ignore it. My beef is that the average person who has good insurance and pays good money every paycheck is not given the warning because it's not measured. There's no check engine light for insulin resistance. It's presumed. Okay, well, if you know that, then why doesn't the establishment, if it's presumed just because, well, I've asked providers this, so why don't we measure it? So, well, I know the person's insulin resistant, they're overweight, okay, or their lipid panel is abnormal, okay, their A1C is abnormal. I know they have insulin resistance, but they don't know the degree. It's the same way of measuring iron, for example. You can say a person's anemic. Well, we do a CBC. Why do we do a CBC, a complete blood count? Why do we do that? Because we need to know, is it so low that we need to give the person a transfusion? Or is it enough to give the person an iron supplement? Or is it mild enough that we can reinforce dietary consumption? But you have to know the degree because it increases your level of concern. This is the way I think about it. So according to Dr. Vass, the fasting insulin target should be under 5. And he says if the insulin level, fasting insulin level now, is above 8, then it's insulin resistance, irrespective of what the A1C says. I have a lot of people I've seen who've got a normal A1C, but I'm looking at them, me, provider, them, patient, I'm looking at them, and I'm beginning to see the signs of what I know is insulin resistance. I know it. I see the changes, what I taught you last week, acanthosis nigricans, the darkness that overspreads that the Quran mentions. If you haven't heard that, go back to last week, right? I see it. There's other metrics. So I suspect it, but I can't prove it until I do the fasting test. Do I want to wait until the person has diabetes? Oh my goodness, what an injustice to the patient. Because while we were waiting for that glucose to turn out normal, that high insulin level, that high glucose level was damaging that person's kidneys, was damaging that person's arteries, was causing inflammation throughout that person's body. And by not measuring it, we providers could have made a stronger argument or taken other measures, and I can describe those measures later, to prevent it. HSCRP. What, you might ask, is HSCRP? Well, it's an inflammation marker. What is an inflammation marker? That is the bat signal that your body sends up, that an area that has been injured sends up so that reinforcements will come to the area and bring the healing forces. Now, that should be specialized, meaning you skinned your knee, you stubbed your toe, you sprained your ankle, you get swelling, or you get pain, or you get redness. All of those are signs of inflammation, which means that your body has flagged this area for you to send, for your body to send the healing resources to. That's your body's signal. Don't walk on this knee, because you'll do that, you'll further injure it. And it lets you know pain, huh? So it gets red. So it's visually, it gets hot. So your senses know something's going on here. Well, it should be that way for that area that was injured. Your whole body doesn't need to become inflamed when there's just an injury there. But when a person has generalized inflammation, then that person is at increased risk for CVD, cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia risk, all at one time. Now think about how wild that is. That's 3 or 4 different check engine lights on, but nobody measures it. It's not lit up on your dashboard. And meanwhile, you're getting closer and closer and closer to the cliff. So by measuring it every 3 months instead of every year, you can see something is wrong because it's trending upwards. Sleep, stress, weight, that should be weight, or hidden infection. Is that not something that you would want to know? But they don't measure that. Ha ha. But people with lots of money that get these executive, or as this doctor provides, longevity medicine or functional medicine, you're able to pay cash, you can get this done. And that bothers me because I think everybody should have access to such. This is not a socialist rant. This means that instead of spending money eating out, buy your labs. This means that instead of going to the club, buy your labs. Now I know I'm talking to the wrong crowd. We're not going out to clubs, I don't think. But ladies, an example, instead of spending $150 to get your hair done, and that's common, get your labs done, pay for your labs. Huh? Instead of getting the nails done. I'm tailoring my comments towards the women because I don't know what men do when they have optional spending. I don't know what they buy, but that's one thing you can do, right? Now, here's another one that you've heard me speak of before as I was talking about brain health. Very, very important. Omega-3 index. What is omega-3? Omega-3 is one of your fatty acids. What do fatty acids do? They feed your brain. To measure such things directly, you can measure directly, know how much you have of these different omega-3 acids. Now, if you really want to know what these are, they're 3-inch words, but you can say EPA and DHA, right? And what does it tell you? It tells you whether your supplementation, if you're taking a supplement, and we should all be doing that, or your consumption of fatty acid sources, such as salmons and fishes, fish oil, flaxseed oil, walnuts, avocados, et cetera, is it actually working? Is the quality of your supplement such that it's getting the job done? Well, maybe not. But you'll know if you test for it. They don't test this. Tell me in the chat if your doctor has routinely on your annual exam, especially those of you who use the VA hospitals, let me know, has your doctor checked any of these? Now, they may have checked your A1C if they suspected diabetes. So the leverage here isn't running these tests once. It's running them 3 to 4 times a year and seeing, are you trending up? Are you trending down? You have heard me mention a test that I offer, and you don't have to be my quote unquote patient to get it. You can just email me at truehumanhealing@gmail.com. You should have my address by now. And you can get the kit. You can only get it through me, or you have to ask your provider to do it, or you pay the money, go online to the different websites that I have told you already. That's things like privatemdlabs.com, privatemdlabs.com, lab tests online, any lab tests now, Ulta Labs. So just Google patient-ordered lab tests or online lab tests, and you'll get a bunch of them. And then what I do, this is how instructor and I manage our labs. We compare prices. And very often they'll be, this is the beauty of capitalism. Companies that offer a service compete in the marketplace. So they can offer the same service. And these things are what they call CLIA lab, meaning that they're certified labs. And they're basically all going to come back to LabQuest to Quest or LabCorp. Those are the two big guys in the lab testing space. And it's just a matter of who's the affiliate, so to speak, of this. So you can order yourself, and it's all going to go to either LabQuest to either Quest or LabCorp to perform the actual test. But you can manage the prices that you pay for it. You understand what I'm saying? That should make sense to you. You don't have to get the highest paid. You don't have to pay the highest price, right? And we belong to something called drsays.com, 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 right? Since we're self-pay, neither of us have insurance as the average person has. We have major medical, Medicare Part A, but the go to the doctor one, we don't have that. We manage our health ourselves. And through Dr. Says, you can order labs. And these guys have the lowest prices that I have found. So every quarter, January, April, July, September. No, every quarter. So that's January is the first, April is the fourth month. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. I'm hungry. But every 3 months, every quarter. So the other one that's extremely important, and this one goes to the second of his posts, which I almost started doing, 5 tests for your brain, B12 and homocysteine. What is vitamin B12? It's a very important vitamin that assists with something called methylation. What is methylation? Complex process by which your body turns poisonous things into non-poisonous things. Or let's just say it's a general conversion process. And some people who do not have enough folate, or what they call folic acid, or some people who do not have the gene that allows you to convert folic acid into folate, these people will have B12 issues, or vegans, people who do not eat meat, because water soluble, we don't make it. And if you don't eat meat, that's where it's found. So people who are vegans and who don't consume animal products need to take a B12 supplement. But since it's water soluble, how do you know you have enough? And what's interesting is it has been well documented that dementia, people who have dementia, or medical term cognitive decline, frequently are B12 deficient. And you need to have B12 in order to break down this chemical here called homocysteine. So if you are B12 deficient, you're going to be unable to break this down or keep this at normal levels. Methylation is what keeps this at normal levels. And this is an inflammation marker. This is another one of those set off a flare in the forest kinds of situations. So what are you supposed to do for all of this? What you are supposed to do is get a hold of your labs, number one. There are generally what they call portals. So seniors, we must become computer literate. And if you yourself don't know how to do it, then you should ask your children, your grandchildren, your children, anyone, your spouses, how to get a hold of your labs. And when you do, here's a real simple thing that you're going to find fun. Send your labs to ChatGPT. Put it in and say, what does this mean? And then I'd also ask you, ask ChatGPT. Now, again, ChatGPT is not a substitute for your doctor. What it does is to give you information that will help you be a better participant in your healthcare and make your provider's life a lot easier, because now your provider can use terms that you're familiar with. I don't know if you're aware of it, but most of the time, I don't know if this is everybody's experience, but most of the time when you go to the doctor, they don't have time to explain. We don't have time to go into great detail about things. So we'll typically make a handout and the nurse will give it to you. And then it's up to the nurse or the nurse assistant to explain to you important details about your condition. Not to put the knock on any of the other medical staff, ancillary medical staff, but I want my provider to talk to me directly. And that's why I employ ChatGPT, because even though I'm a provider, there are many areas of medicine that are not my specialty. There are many areas of things that I just don't understand. And so I'm one who can't stand not understanding things that are important to me. That bothers me. That works me. So what do? I look it up. Everything that I tell you, I was exposed to it. I may have learned it, but I may not be as fluent in it as I might want to be because I haven't used it. And that's the nature of the way the brain works. So that's why in my home, I have a library. That's the way any provider gets the information. We look it up, we learn it from somebody, we practice it. So there's nothing that they learn that you can't learn, except procedures, of course. Can't be experimenting on people. But every time you take your child's temperature or your spouse's temperature, you're performing a procedure. Every time you measure your own blood pressure or somebody else's, you're performing a procedure. It's not an invasive procedure, but it's a procedure. And the more of these things that you know, the more of these things that you know, the more fluent in them you become. Hmm? And remember, we cannot teach you anything. We can provide the instruction. You have to learn it, right? And the only limit to what you can learn is the limit that you place on it. So you make the decision that you want to learn something and you can learn it. That's as simple as it is. And fortunately, we have these things, these AI models to help us. So all the people who might rail against the United States, even in poor areas, we got internet. You pick one of the poorest people, very often they've got a cell phone. And so you can look things up. There's no reason to be ignorant in this day and time. And I will also tell you, William, Nawa, etc., any of you people that are motivated to get groups together, if you can get a group together, and let's just say that group is 5 people or more, I'll be more than happy to speak to them about topics of interest, especially William. I love what you're doing, dealing with the young people. Especially do I want to get to the young people, because if we can prevent the kinds of problems that we're seeing in advanced age, what a great service we have done for them. So I've heard that if you want to plant, I'm paraphrasing and probably butchering a nice proverb, but basically it says if you want to plant trees, you have to educate. If you want to, oh, let me not say it, but it has to do with planting trees that you know you're not going to be around to reap the harvest from, right? You want to keep concepts alive. You have to educate a human being, right? You put things in books. And so we have to work very carefully to make sure that that adage, if you want to keep something a secret from a Black person, put it in a book. Well, if you want to keep anybody ignorant, just put it in a book, because most people nowadays don't read. There's no excuse now. We have no excuse. And so, as G.I. Joe said, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. So that said, I'm going to pass the talking stick to Instructor Bilal or whomever else he wants to pass that to. And I'm just going to share. Can I share just one other thing with you? One of the exciting things that I did with ChatGPT is to ask it to design for us the type of food that will protect our health against all those icky things that I just told you about. And it gave us this amazing menu. And it turns out that there's a restaurant in our area that was doing precisely the things, it's precisely the kind of menu, clean menu. It's called BB Bop. It is, shout out to them. They'll probably never see this, but shout out to them. And what they do, it's a Korean inspired grill, is what they call it. And you go in there and you select a base, right? So your base is the foundation of your meal. They do things in bowls. So you have your base of either lettuce, or it can be this wonderful thing called purple rice. Look it up. Purple rice leaves brown rice in the dust. And certainly it would turn you away from white rice. Purple rice, you get it from the Asian store. Or another wonderful thing called sweet potato noodles. The Korean word for it is japchae. If you go to the Asian store, japchae. Sweet potato noodles, they're see-through noodles. They're almost like cellophane noodles, but they form the base of your bowl. And then you go to your protein. So your protein can be grilled salmon. It can be chicken. It can be steak. And you can fix the chicken different ways. You can make it spicy, or you can make it regular. You can grill it. For us, you could barbecue it. But this is generally what they call the hot proteins. You can have tofu if you like that. And so you choose your protein, put it on your base, and now you got your hot sides, black beans, curry chickpeas. Oh my God. Delicious curry chickpeas. What was the other ones? My mouth is watered. Kale, so many other kinds of rice, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get your cold sides. That's your corn, your marinated shredded cabbage, and something I had that I'd not had before, pickled onions. Oh, my stars, my ears, my whiskers. I had never had that before. Delicious, absolutely delicious. Kimchi, that's something that's recently in the trending news now. These people, Korean people, have been eating it for centuries. It's essentially fermented cabbage. So fermented vegetables are quite good for us. We know that. There's the corn, the cabbage, the kale, uh, pickled cucumbers, all these kinds of things. So if you want to know, just go to bbbop.com, BIBIBOP, bbbop.com. And you go there to see the menu. And from that menu, I don't know whether they're nationwide or not. They may be local, limited to local only. But the point of referring you there is that you can see the menu. And from that, you can do what we do. You can reproduce it yourself. And then they have different kinds of sauces. Well, you can actually buy the sauces. You go to an Asian store, I'm sure in the major metros, I'm sure it's in Atlanta, I'm sure it's any major city, there's going to be Asian stores. Just Google it. Where are the Asian stores near me? And when you go there, you can buy sweet potato noodles and fix them yourself. All these different things, so you don't have to spend $12 and $15 each day to make their bowls. It's a great, if you're going to eat out, that's the best way to eat clean. And if you, for whatever reason, you can't cook, you could very easily live off that. So our experiment is we're going to eat like that for our main meal for 2 weeks to see how we feel. How does that affect our energy. We test blood sugars. We have continuous glucose monitors. This is CGMs. We have finger stick monitors. See how it affects blood pressure. See how it affects digestion. See how it affects sleep. See how it affects energy. And the goal is to have that as the main meal for the day and to fast, combine that with intermittent fasting, 12 to 14 hours, and to do my best. No, I don't know what soursop is, Sister Habiba. I'm sure it's good, but I don't know what it is. And to do all of that and to see how it makes a difference. So remember, the basics. I meant to say this at the beginning, but it bears repeating. You should be able to say it with me and say it out loud. Every organism was created upon the fitra, which means created to thrive in a specific environment. Give that organism that specific environment, those specific conditions, how it eats, where it sleeps, how it lives, and the organism will thrive. It'll reproduce and it will thrive. Deprive it of that environment, that nutrition, that circumstance, and the organism will either adapt or it will sicken and it will die. So we're about thriving here, not just surviving. We're about thriving. And so I want you, for your homework, I want you to look up where you can order your own labs. If you have a provider that is what I call aware and sentient, ask that provider to run those tests for you. Remember, if you're paying insurance, your provider works for you. Unfortunately, they tend to think that they work for the establishment that pays them and for the insurance companies. That infuriates me. But you have a right to ask, and if you're insistent and polite enough and respectful enough, they will do it for you. And if not, order it yourself. And then run your chat GPT and ask it, what do these mean? And if you still have questions, get back to me and I'll help you break it down. So, Instructor Bilal.
And, I read in the Quran before officially getting started here. I read in the Quran this morning about how Allah calls all of humanity one soul, that He created us all from this one essence, this one soul. So whenever He's addressing human beings, He's addressing not individuals and groups necessarily. He's addressing us as one essential soul. That's important to understand. He says your life and your resurrection is like one soul. That's important to understand. That means that although we look different, although we come from different geographies and we're two different genders, I think it's just two. Is it just two anymore? I heard one person say there's seven of them. I'm out of that conversation. I'm not trying to have that conversation. My mama told me that there are two genders, male and female. That's what I'm going with until somebody can prove differently. That's the science that I'm going with. Okay. So in that regard, those two genders even have compatibility, of course, but they also have similarities that outweigh the differences. So our human capabilities and qualities outweigh even the differences in our genders, male and female. So it's just a wonderful day for us to come into this level of knowledge. It's not simple knowledge. It's not knowledge that's necessarily easy to access because it's knowledge that has been kept from us for many, many, not only decades, but I would say hundreds of years. In some cases, several thousand years worth of information has been kept from the general body of human beings on this earth. And that's why we look at each other so cross-eyed when we look at each other. See, like we're not the same. Essentially, we are the same. Differentially, we're different. And when we can get over that hump, we're going to almost be home. And I say almost because then you have to know how to connect the universality of humanity with where it is you're trying to go. And if you're trying to go to Jannah, you got to get there as one soul. You can't get there as an African. You can't get there as an Asian. You don't hear a lot talking about no geography in the hereafter. It's not talking, the way you do soup and nuts and food and clothes. And he's not talking about those cultural differences when he's talking about Jannah. He's talking about your human soul. And as I always say, the entire Quran is a treatise of sorts on the human soul. It's not even on who Allah is. Allah said he will tell you the truth of those things later. Why do you need to know who Allah is and you don't even know who you are? Allah tells you over and over again in the Quran that we forget, that humanity has forgotten. Forgotten what? Forgotten who we are and why we're here. See, so we're on a trail of remembrance. In the Quran, that's called dhikr. Dhikr is not just remembering the attributes or the names of Allah, it's remembering your station in this creation as a being that is connected to Allah Himself. Allah says that we are closer to Him than the jugular vein. That vein that's running in your neck, that's pumping blood from your heart to your brain constantly, 24/7. Put your hand there, you can feel the blood moving, grooving back and forth between the heart and the brain. He's telling you right there what the two most essential organs are in your human body. But we have preferential treatment toward the stomach. We like to eat. You know, we have all these preferences towards the organs that are not the most essential. They can, at some point, if they needed to, they could amputate your legs. They could amputate your arms. There are people who are walking around gliding on wheelchairs who don't have legs, don't no toes. Some don't have fingers. Some don't have all of these things. But try living without that brain and without that heart and see how long you go. So these are just common sense deductions that human beings can make just based on observation of creation itself and how creation operates. What we have forgotten are the details pertaining to that operation. That's what the Quran is here to give us. It's not here to give us ancient Egyptian history, ancient Arab glory. It's not here for any of those cultural reasons. It's here for the human reason, understanding your nafs, the motivations that are operating in your very soul, the reasons why you do different things, some correctly and some incorrectly. Those are motivations and operations taking place in the nafs, in the soul. Allah put into the mouth of Isa, Jesus, in the Quran. He said to Allah that I know uh, that you know what is in my nafs, and I have no idea what's in yours. So even Jesus said that Allah has a nafs. I want you to think about that. He said, well, is Allah a man? Is Allah a person? No, because a nafs is not a man or a person. It's an essence. It's a consciousness, for lack of a better term. Allah says that He breathed into the Khalifa of His ruh, of His spirit. If it's from Allah, it's eternal. So there's something in the human being that we have inherited as a possession that outlives flesh and blood. That's what needs to be understood. And when you understand that, you'll understand the true connection to your true potential as a human being and stop seeing yourself as being some worthless sinner. I'm talking to people outside of here now. There are whole religions that believe we were born in sin and shaped by iniquity. We just lucky to be here, as bad as we are. Bible says that it was a time when God wiped all the humans out and started over. He wiped them out with a flood and had to do it all over again. And he does it all over again. And we run into trouble again. And then he sends his only begotten son to save us again. And he sends his only begotten son and we stab him in the back, almost literally stab him in the back. You know, him giving up his life was to save humanity, and humanity is still not saved. So here we are all over again with our bad selves. We're thinking that the human being is worthless, created from dust, just worthless. But that's not the point of those scriptures using that particular language. We have been mistranslating much of that language as we've been reading it. We have something so qualified operating within our human vessel, in our human soul, that all we have to learn to do is activate it and let it do what it was created to do. It's not going to do what it was created to do without activation. That's what the whole idea of a breath being installed into the Khalifa is. If you don't know what that ruh is, if you don't know what the nafs does, then you don't know what a true human is supposed to be doing. And if you don't know what a true human is supposed to be doing, it means that you could never be one. You could only be, as I always say, a human being. Pardon me, a human doing. You can only be a human doing, but you can't be a human being until you know what that being is as a qualification in you. If I don't have the skills of a carpenter, I can't be a human carpenter. I can have all the tools. I can have the carpenter's belt. I could have, whatever. But if I don't know what a nail is, what a hammer does, yeah, I don't know what these digits do with the hammer. See, I'm going around just trying to find la cucaracha on the floor. This must be what this is for. Water bugs. What is this? If you don't know, you can't use it. So if you're not using it, then you can't be called that technically. You can't be called a carpenter. You could be sued in some cases for calling yourself something and operating in a manner that is not your cup of tea or your specialty. So that's why we put such emphasis on what a human being actually is. A lot of people don't like that word human being. They don't like the word human in many circles. Some secret circles don't like that. They say human is a monster. That's the meaning of human in some of those dictionaries, like Black's Law Dictionary. See, you look up the word human, it says monster. But that's esoteric language that you're not supposed to understand. Why would the human being be a monster? They say, well, that word is not in scripture. It's not in the Quran, human. It's not in the Bible. It doesn't say human. Well, then the only way you're going to understand what the Bible and the Quran is saying, if it's not using the word human, you have to understand the word itself, the letters, and where it came from. But most people on this planet do not know what man means. They don't know what man means. They don't know where hue came from. So if they don't know what these things are, they don't know what these things mean, they don't know where these things came from, then they can never be that which they have no knowledge of. And I'm telling you that the good meaning for human is humus mind, the mind that has been watered with the moisture of morality, the moisture of goodness, the moisture of the potential for growth and development, just like what Allah does tell us in the Quran directly. You have been created to grow like plants grow. How do plants grow? Through humus soil. So they can skirt around it all they want in their secret sciences so that we can call them gods instead of humans. That's really what they're looking for. Just call us gods, and we'll leave the rest of that stuff alone. Well, if you understood what the real meaning for God was, I could accept it if you're following the logic that I follow. And that God they're talking about is not the creator of the heavens and the earth. He's just a human potential for rulership. That God they're talking about is the same thing that Allah is talking about when he calls the person the Khalifa. Same thing. the ruler in the earth. But they've mixed up and meshed up and have scrambled so many different important meanings for human growth and development that we're back to base one again. So we're starting from the beginning, and the beginning for us begins with letters. The beginning of the world, even the Jewish scholars will tell you that the beginning of the universe is with letters, that God spoke letters and created the universe. I don't know if you've ever heard that coming from Hebrew scholars. The Quran is not that graphic, and it's not that mistaken in its depiction of how the universe got started. But nevertheless, in saying that the world began as a conglomeration of letter sounds, that is correct, but it's not the universe that you're calling the material world. It's the universe that begins right here. This is where the first letters take form to give us words, to give us attributes of things. And then we have to build a world from there with the basic building blocks that are given to us by Allah. And what I said just now is also in the Quran. So let me go snatch my notes and get this linguistic party. I should say, continue this linguistic party that Karima and others have started. And thank you to William, who always gives an excellent opening. His opening is also a class. He's giving open introductory remarks, but if you listen back to what he says, it's also a class. Abu, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. There are several people here who haven't been here in a few weeks, and some who haven't been here at all. There's some people in the background. There are many more people than the ones that you're seeing on the screen. And I'm thankful to each and every one of you who are here. And thank you very much for your presence. Let me find my notes and again, get this linguistic party started. Hold on one moment. And away we go. This is great. Okay. Once again, this is the University Online Learning course, and we're on Sunday, June 28th, 2026. I am your international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, and today we're going to be talking on a necessary subject. Even if you've been here for a while, this review of things that I've taught in the past, over the past few years actually, is an important review. I will be retelling a lot of this information in a way that I did not tell it the first time, just to give it some more flavor. You know, nobody likes the same soup every week on the table. I mean, you know, helps you to live, but we're trying to spruce the soup up just a little bit, you know, add a little parsley or something to it, you know. So that's what some of you who have been here for a while are going to get. But then there are others who are here for the first time, learning what I'm about to serve up today. So be very, very curious. While we talk about Quranic sounds, you've never heard me say that before. Learning the Quran entails learning about Quranic sounds, proto root words, and root word meanings. So first, let me tell you very quickly the difference between a proto root and a root. And I think many of you already know the difference, but it bears repeating for those who don't know. That a root word in Arabic consists mostly of three-letter words or three-letter roots. Like the word kitab would be kataba. And you can break most words down just by listening to them into their verbal forms by just following that same pattern. They're all based on certain patterns. All right. But kataba is not how that word began in the language. Just like the number 3 comes after the number 2, the 3 letters in kataba come after the word was officially introduced as two-letter root, which is called a proto root. So that word is going to either be kata in its beginnings or taba in its beginnings. And that's where the excitement kicks in if you're a true student like I am, because there are going to be many words in the Arabic language that don't have words based on some of these combinations. But there will be many in other cases that do. Like kataba, you can find many words that begin with taba, tabbat yada. There are a lot of places you can go in the Quran to be able to figure out what this KT connection is in the logic of these letters. We have Kaaba, we have Baka. So there are many words in the Quran that are already reduced to two letters. Kaaba is not one of them, but Baka is. It's Bait, Ka. Bait and Ka, or Kaf. So there are some that are already reduced, but the ones that are reduced already, I'm not going to say reduced because they didn't begin as three. They began as one sound and then two letters. One sound was introduced. You know this instructor. You're sitting there like you're so sure of yourself. I'm sure of myself because I'm sure of the fitrah. And the fitrah tells me that every time a baby is born, that baby begins speaking individual sounds before it gives me words. It's the same pattern. Look at how merciful Allah is. We didn't have to go to college to learn language construction for this purpose. All we had to do was listen to the baby. And the baby started saying, ah, ah. You don't know what that meant? You had no idea what his ah means. Or if he starts to say, bah, bah. If he says, bah, bah, he might be talking about his bottle. Ma, ma. See, he's talking about his mother. But first he said, ma, ma. He's listening at you. So he says, ma, after you. And then he repeats it, ma, ma. So those proto root words that consist of two joining letters are the first cogent language. When I say cogent, I mean an understood language. When somebody says them, if the baby just says ba, you don't know what he's talking. If the baby starts saying ba ba, you know he's talking about something specific. And when he gets to saying cat, you better be careful. Cat is something altogether different. You might not want to be around that. But when he says it, he knows what he's talking about. See? P, and then he says PP. You know, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Is your diaper wet? What's going on here? Because those two-letter words are now meaning something. So that's what's called a proto-root. And when another letter is added to a proto-root word, it becomes a three-letter root word, which means something further out in the environment. The environment for the individual human baby begins in its immediate environment, its immediate circle. Who's in its immediate circle? What is in its immediate circle? Of course, mom, who they will grow to call mama or umma. See, it's those two sounds. Umma, umi, my mommy, my mother, mommy. It's just two sounds, basic sounds. Daddy, it's just two sounds. But what's similar about all of these proto-root words and ideas is that all of them represent things that are close to your immediate environment where you are. You didn't have to travel anywhere to go see these things. They were with you already. This is wonderful when you understand it, because most of these words that we're using to describe things in our immediate environment are two consonant words. The word for mother, Aleph meme, double meme, but it's still meme. It's just two letters. Dad, Aleph Ba, or bait as I like to call it. Aleph Ba, A-B. Two letters. The word for where you were brought back home to after you left the hospital or wherever you were born. Bait, the house. Ba, ta. The AI sound or the AY sound is called a diphthong. It's a combination of vowels. It's not an actual consonant. It's a combination of vowels, not consonants. AY or AI. Bait. The essential letters, ba, or bait, and ta, the T sound. Your brother and sister. Ach. Aleph, ta. The same two consonants give us the name for sister. Aleph pronounced as this time. Uch. So we say achi, my brother, and ukhti, my sister. But there are two letters involved, essentially. So as you go through the Quran, this is what I do, and this is what I advise you to do. Look, if you can read it in Arabic, look for those words that consist of only two letters. And what you're going to find are the words that came into existence in the world first. Those are the first words of expression that came into the world based on this particular Arabic science and investigation. And I'm saying to you that this is a normal human thing in all languages because babies are not born able to speak 3 and 4 and 5 consistent uh, words or letters in a word. It's not natural to do that, to learn the word contemplate as a 1-year-old. That's not how it works. You learn the smaller words first. And the smaller words are based on sounds. So you learn sounds first. How many of our children have heard, hey, stop, hey, stop it, stop. We don't try to give a whole long discourse when we're trying to get that baby to not put that thing in his mouth or her mouth. No, no, stop. We give them short. And the force that we put behind the sound of the vowel that we're accompanying that consonant with is what gives the indication as to what we want them to do. We might, oh, they know what that means. And they know what, hey, and don't, hey, stop. They know what that means also because of the force of the vowel attached to the consonant. This is how we learn human language, is my point. So let's continue. The human mouth has been designed to produce 7 basic sounds. These sounds are called phonemes and are responsible for the formation of all words within the human language, regardless of geography. These sounds are comprised of open-mouthed sounds called vowels and closed-mouthed sounds known as consonants. The word consonant means with, that's the con part, and sound, called a sonari. Consonant, that which you cannot understand, you can't break it down, you can't go deeper into it unless you attach a vowel to it. It has to be with a vowel, and the vowel is where the sound is. So if I just say to you, with no vowel, with no vowel, you don't know what, I'm just a caveman talking, but I don't know what you're talking about. You have to attach a vowel to go. That's when it becomes a word. See? The vowel is committing to something like a vow commits to something. That's why we take vows when we get married. We're committing to something. We're committing to a growth and development of a relationship. Well, the vowel in a word is committing to the growth and development of language. So we need to also understand that the vowel part of a word is its feminine contribution, and the consonantal part of a word is its masculine contribution. Everything in creation has a masculine and a feminine connotation built into it. The vowel, again, is the feminine. Why? Because the vowel is an open mouthed sound, and the feminine principle is open, just like the female. Biology has an opening for you to deposit your seed, just like the earth, which is why the earth is called feminine. You open up the soil and plant your seeds. Anything that opens is feminine oriented. Anything that comes from outside and goes into is masculine oriented. So the seed becomes masculine. The ground becomes feminine. And the masculine and the feminine operating together is what produces life. All right, moving right along. English vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and they say sometimes Y. These minuscule letters, minuscule, small letters, represent the original alphabet. In other words, when they first began putting the English language together as a language, there were no majuscule letters, no capital letters like you see here, A, E, I, O, U as capital letters. That's not what came first. What came first were the smaller letters. And English is different from other languages in that most other languages don't have a capital letter and a small letter system. Where's the capital Aleph in Arabic? Or the capital Hebrew letter or the capital Greek letter? No, there's no capital in those other languages. It was introduced into the Western languages and most prominently in the English language because the English language wanted to emphasize the fact that they had capitalized people. In other words, we have big people here. This is the money, that's what they call money, capital, right? So we have capital here. And the people who control the capital, those are the capitalized people. And they're supposed to be in the front. You guys get in the back. That's why the capital letters begin sentences. They have to be in the front. That's what these capital letters are emphasizing. We are first in line. You guys just wait until we're finished and be satisfied with what we leave you. So these big letters are called majuscule, like majesty, majestic letters. And the original letters are called minuscule. So those bigger letters were invented later in order to represent the capitalized people who were existing among the ruling aristocrats. That's an important note for people who are going to seriously study language. In Arabic, the vowels are fatha, kasra, and dhamma, and they can be pronounced as short or long sounds. Each one of those three vowels can be taken and pronounced as a short sound vowel, or they can be stretched out and pronounced as a long sound vowel. So the sound of ah as a fatha can be stretched out to be ah. The sound of I as a kesra sound can be stretched out to become e. The sound of o in the word put, the English word put can be stretched out to become a double o sound. Ooh, ooh. And those are the three vowels. And there are some other incidentals in the language, the sukun and other little things that they introduced along the way. But these are the main three that you need to be concerned with if you're learning the language. Fatha means open. That's what it means. Kesra indicates a chewing process that's taking place where? In the intellect. Now, what I'm giving you now is not out of a textbook. What I'm giving you now is from my own study, especially the attention that I paid to Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad's way of explaining knowledge and the language. And it's not that he was guessing it off the top of his head. He was he was deducing knowledge from other things that people say, and then there were things that they didn't say or didn't want us to know or didn't teach us or didn't know themselves. He was very, very good at putting knowledge with knowledge and tracing knowledge back to its original source. That was one of his specialties. If you didn't know or if you haven't heard of him, you should study him. W. Dean Muhammad. So, of course, Fatha means open because to pronounce that sound, you have to open your mouth. Ah, who does that? The infant. When does he do that? In the very beginning. When it's delivered here from its mother's womb, it's delivered through an open channel, the womb. If the womb doesn't open up, that baby is in serious trouble. But the womb itself has to open up to allow for the eviction notice to kick in. You gotta go. You're not paying rent here anymore. You got to go out there in the world and make it for yourself now. No more tied to the cord. This is not your world anymore. Inside of mama. Your world now is out there. It's not that far from mama right now, but it's out there. You won't be feeding from the source that you were feeding from in just an hour ago when you were tied to her umbilical cord. The reason you're crying now is because you know there's been a change. See, a new sheriff is in town called Oxygen, called Milk Source, right? There's a new sheriff that's in town. Now you got to depend on your mother still, but not on her umbilical cord and its nutrition. You have to depend on her outside of her body. You have to latch on to her for her milk source and nutrition. So Allah is moving us incrementally away from the source, but He's not distancing us in a way which would allow us to suffer by not having a connection with the source. All of what I'm telling you now factors into the meanings of words that use these vowels and consonants. These are part and parcel of your human existence and things that we do all of the time that we don't notice, but that are very important for understanding language. So again, speaking about the Kesra, in order to pronounce it, your mouth has to close to pronounce the sound of E. E. A is open. A, then E. So I is a chewing motion. Open, closed, open, closed. When your child goes to drink milk from its mother, it has to open its mouth. And then when it gets that teeth in its gums, it closes the mouth around that milk source. And that's where we get the sound of and ummi, ummi, mother. Mother is just the sound of what the baby is doing when they're drinking that good milk. Ah, in the mouth, clamp down. Campbell Soup took it and they said, good. That's all. That's what Campbell Soup is. Good, right? But it's the figure-based idea behind that word and its formation. It's beautiful when you understand it. I'm telling you. So Kesra came to represent a chewing process. And the chewing process for the human being, who is an abstract being, the human being is an abstract creature. The human being was not meant to be limited to the literal world. The human being was meant to be expressed and expanded into the abstract world of thinking. Most of the language we use, you don't notice it because you're not paying conscious attention. But most of the language that we use is abstract language. If you think about the average sentence that you use on a daily basis, you'll see that many of the words that are included are abstract concepts and words. We tell somebody, well, stop beating around the bush. Were they really beating around the bush? See, no, that's an abstract statement. It's symbolic of something, beating around the bush. We tell our little sister, why you got such a big mouth? Does it really mean she has a literal big mouth across her face? No, it's an abstract way of explaining that she talked too much. And you can find thousands upon thousands of expressions that fit this same idea that the human being is speaking and intellectualizing as the intellect continues to grow on an abstract level of communication. A lot of Muslims like to say, no, you need to stop being so abstract in your explanations, brother. The Quran is what it means literally. Where'd you learn that? It's not what Allah says. Allah talks about the muhkamat and the mutashabihat. And until you come back to me and know what those two words mean and how they're to be differentiated, you can't make that statement. We like to make these statements about the Quran and we don't speak a lick of Arabic. And we can't even point to the ayah that we're talking about because we don't know the language. We only know the emotion, the sentiment behind things. So we have to get better. That's what this class is designed to do for us. The third vowel, dhamma, represents the spiritual realm. Well, how did you know that, Instructor Bilal? Just to look at many of the prominent words that have the spiritual or the dhamma connection within them. It's really that simple. Now, you'll notice that I'm explaining things to you in a way that leaves you some homework to do. I'm not ever going to explain things to you so that you have no homework to do. But the only ones who will be doing the homework are those who are curious enough to investigate. The word for stars, nujum. That's just one example. Where are the stars? Out there in the spiritual realm. Many words that have the Dhamma connected to them, that have to do with things that your intellect can't quite explain totally. So Dhamma represents that which is connected to the spiritual realm. When I say spiritual, I'm not always talking about outer space. Very rarely am I talking about outer space necessarily. I'm talking about the spiritual things, the connections inside of you that cannot be totally explained. Allah puts the Dhamma in many of those words. An example of that is the word mutaqi, mutaqi. And people know who know the language that mutaqi is one who possesses taqwa. A mutaqi. Now, this doesn't have an ending like we know Arabic endings, plural endings. It just has a kesra here. And those who know the language, they know that kesra is possessive. So this mutaqi is one who possesses taqwa, but it's just you, the individual. There's no plural attached to this. It's independent and it's yours to possess and control. That taqwa is yours to manipulate and control. But the word al-muttaqin, which is from the same word as the word muttaqi from taqwa, and from even a smaller word than taqwa, right? But a al-muttaqin, definite article, and then given a plural ending, but that plural ending is in, muttaqin. That's right in the beginning of the Quran when you're reading Al-Baqarah. Huda lil muttaqin. They say guidance for those who possess taqwa, but that's not enough for understanding the deeper meanings of this particular word as this vowel becomes attached to the end of this word. If the kesra sound of E represents a chewing in the intellect, when you're chewing on knowledge or information, to break that information down into finer sections and segments and parts so that it's easier to digest. They call it breaking big concepts down into smaller concepts, more manageable concepts. People will tell you sometimes, no, hold on, brother, that's deep, but just break that down for me. Break it down a little more, right? Or sometimes they'll stop you and say, "Oh, that's enough, man. Let me chew on that for a minute." We have it in our language, but it's been hidden from us or it's been forgotten. The reasons we say these things. So, al-muttaqin are those whose taqwa operates intellectually and are constantly pondering Allah's guidance. That's how you know the muttaqin. They're constantly pondering. Why is it plural? Because the pondering is best served when you're pondering and discussing these things with other people, not when you're just a muttaqi thinking to yourself. It's when you get other people and you say, "Did you read that part of the Quran that says, who that little muttaqin?" Yeah, I did read that, man. And here's what I came up with. So when you start mixing and matching with other people and their intellects, now you have an intellectual pool of information to begin developing and pulling from and benefiting from. El muttaqin. See? And you begin pondering over that guidance in the Quran. And not only in the Quran, the muttaqin, those people were here before the Quran was revealed. So who were they before the Quran was revealed? They were people who pondered like that when studying or investigating nature. Their other mama, their first mama was nature. And it's nature that produced them from their biological mama. So when you're thinking about the things that you're coming in contact with, you're investigating these things. You're opening those things up for investigation based on your curiosity. That's the intellectual process at work. That's the kesra factor in the work or at work. Then when you get to the word el-muttaqun, which is using the dhamma sound, plural, people, el-muttaqun, the people who possess taqwa, still, yeah, but there's something different going on here. El-muttaqun are those whose considerations rise above the mundane, meaning they rise above just the ordinary everyday things you're looking at and studying. And they're contemplating taqwa on a deeply spiritual level, which does not limit itself to our average local concerns, but are universal in scope. So when an Elon Musk, if I can use his name without being called too many bad words by people who don't like him, when he begins to say, I'm working on SpaceX or something that involves communication with Mars, or so, I don't know what he's doing, but his interests are way above what we're doing on Earth as Earthlings. He's out in the space travel area of knowledge. So what he does will hopefully benefit not only people on planet Earth, but whatever life forms might be similar to ours that are on some other planet, maybe. We don't know. You have to investigate to find that out. You have to be curious. So there are some people whose interests are just local. They're just national. They're only looking to benefit their race or their ethnicity. Some are just looking to benefit their gender. This is good for men. I don't give a whatever if it doesn't benefit the women. I want to benefit the men because we run the world. Yeah. Well, those local concerns are not what I'm talking about when I talk about the muttaqun, not even the muttaqin. These people are just practicing their version of taqwa on a very, very limited and local level. So I hope that's understood without me going any further into the weeds on that. The concerns must be universal in scope to be in the group called El Muttaqun. I'm going to give you some examples of that from the Quran. In Surah 2, Ayat 2, Allah says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is not a correct translation, but for now, forgive me for using their translation. This is the book, Al-Kitab, right? In it is guidance sure, without doubt, to those who fear Allah. That's not what it's, you don't see the word Allah. You know Allah when you see it in Arabic. If you don't know anything else in Arabic, you don't see the word Allah here. And you don't see it in brackets over here. So could that have been an intentional mistranslation? Or did they feel bold enough to just take liberties and say, we'll explain it to them later? The best thing they could have done was just put it in brackets and explain it in commentary. But they put it in there as though they're directly translating the word Allah in the text. And there is no word. You can look in here in the English transliteration, you don't see the word Allah. So what this does is make you think that muttaqin, the possessors of taqwa, are people who profess Allah or profess faith in Allah. And again, that's not necessarily the case. The scientists of this world possess taqwa if they're going to advance in their sciences. And they don't have to do it while confessing Allah as you and I know Allah. This only means that you're cautious, you're careful, you're regardful of the things that you're coming across. Perchance you might come across something that might set you back instead of advance you. So you're looking out for the mistakes to make sure that you don't continue to make mistakes. This is a human logic. It's not a Muslim logic per se. This is just how human beings grow and develop all the way across this planet. They make a mistake in something, or they did something that actually set them back, set their tribe back, set their nation back. They reinvestigate that knowledge. They reinvestigate that logic, and they don't follow the same trail anymore. They change up and they say, well, instead of going left, this time we're going to go right. And right worked. So I'm going to stick with the right. Those are the muttaqin al-muttaqin. In the same ayat 2, ayat 66. Look at what Allah says. Let's read it in the English first, and then I'll show you the words that we're referencing in the Arabic. So we made it an example to their own time and to their posterity, and a lesson to those who fear Allah. They did the same thing. The word Allah is not in here. But what they're translating is lil muttaqin again. So these are people who are registering concern and caution concerning something. In their minds, is concerning Allah and the Quran and all of these things that were not even here when this revelation or before this revelation was revealed. Now compare that to this next ayat, the concluding ayat for the vowel example that I'm giving you. Most people are familiar with this. They call it the verse on righteousness, al-bir. It is not righteousness that you turn your faces towards east or west, but it is righteousness to believe in Allah and the last day and the angels and the book and the messengers, to spend of your substance out of love for him, for your kin, for orphans, for the needy, for the wayfarer, for those who ask, and for the ransom of slaves, to be steadfast in prayer and practice regular charity, to fulfill the contracts which you have made, and to be firm and patient in pain or suffering and adversity, and throughout all periods of panic. Such are the people of truth, the Allah fearing. Look into transliteration. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. Not muttaqin, muttaqun. So why is it muttaqun here, but muttaqin in the ones that I just read? Because the ones that I just read is referencing the process of intellectual advancement, intellectual curiosity. This here is representing the advancement of universal concerns, not local concerns. So Allah doesn't even give any credence to East or West like we do. The religions of the East or the religions in the West, Christianity and Judaism. And so Allah doesn't even give us that much rope to hang ourselves by. He says that this thing called bir, al-bir, what they're translating as righteousness, is not the turning of your faces when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You know, the people who are performing the ritual salat, that's what they do. But that's not, I can just bring them the Quran and say, well, what you just did has nothing to do with righteousness. You think it does. You say, well, I'm performing 5 of these a day, and I turn my head this way, and then I turn my head that way, or I turn my head that way, and then I turn my head this way. Some religions only turn their head one way. The Shiites and other, they do something altogether different. So all these different sections of the religion do something different. And most of what they're doing is nowhere to be found in Al-Quran. It's the stuff that they surmised, that they thought this stuff up. They developed these different strategies for what they call worship of God. It has nothing to do with what Allah revealed. So my point here is in showing you all of what is being said here is for the benefit of the universal human being. Righteousness is to believe in Allah. So you say, well, that's Islam, isn't it, instructor? No, that's human consciousness put into an Arabic word form or frame. You can take this same word Allah and put it in other languages as Allah tells you in the Quran. That there, no matter what language you're putting it in, all of the good names belong to Allah. He tells you that in the Quran. But we are so stuck on an idiom that we have become idiots, unfortunately. So we got to back up out of that idiot stuff and start looking at language as it was intended to be practiced. So we believe in this consciousness, this overriding, all pervasive consciousness that grows into the knowledge that there is an observer over us, and that there is also an observer within us, closer to you than your jugular vein, and even closer. What's closer to you than that vein that's feeding blood from the heart to the brain? It's the one who's asking all of the questions, the one who talks to itself when no other people are around. It talks to you and you answer back. Man, what am I doing? What do you do? What are you doing, Ben? Who's that talking to me? He says, you talking to yourself. But what part of me is doing all that talking to myself? When I say, don't take that cookie, Ralph. Don't take that cookie. Who's that talking to that child? There are many things we have not yet learned about human behavior, but that's somebody who's observing you. That's not you per se. That's somebody observing you. You said, take that cookie while you got a chance. That was you. Then there was a voice that came up real quick and said, no, don't do that. What if you get caught? But doesn't that belong to somebody else? What if somebody misses it? What if you're taking that from a baby or a child? All of these other subsidiary voices start popping up in the intellect. Who, where, and why are all of these other voices coming up in you? Because that's the voice of the observer, the one who is, Allah says, in you there is a watcher. It's all in the Quran, what I'm explaining to you. You have watchers over you. But again, we haven't gone that deeply into the understanding of the human consciousness. That's where Allah is ruling. That's the throne he's ruling from, your human consciousness. Continuing. When you get a chance, read that ayat for yourself in detail. Now, the most important action for learning to understand any language, especially the Quran, is to listen. The word listen is an anagram, meaning it uses the same exact letters for the word silent. Listen, same exact letters in silent. That's not an accident. And silence allows us to hear sounds and differentiate these sounds. Sounds are what allows us to know the difference between hey and hey. Same word if I were to write it on a page, but two different expressions in terms of how it sounds to the ear. Understanding the differences in these sounds is what technically makes you a person. A person. The word person means per by way of sonari or sound. Sonar, you might know it as, right? That which operates by way of sound, that's what is being called person. You look it up in the dictionary, it's going to tell you something different. It's going to say that it means a mask, a persona. That's just his persona. That's not the real him. Yeah, so we can do that also. We can present an image in a personality that leads you to believe that that's us. Oh, that's Elvis. That's Michael. That's Beyonce. No, those are just their personas. That's just what they want you to see. Those are the words they want to capture your brain with, the lyrics or the look. See? But that's not necessarily them. So the persona is not necessarily the core person, not necessarily the detailed description of the nefs. It's just the dressing for the nefs, the persona. All humans are born sonically first, then visually. All babies born, they hear, they can hear while they're in the womb, many doctors believe. That's why they say talk to your child while the child is still in your mother's womb, in the mother's womb. Just talk to it. Just stand there next to the tummy and say things, sing to it, read to it, right? That's what they tell you. A lot of these children seem to come out more intelligent when you do that because they can hear, although they can't see. There's nothing to see in there. Why open your eyes? Why would Allah give the child sight in the womb? and there's nothing to see, but there's plenty to hear because hearing is a frequency. It registers a particular level of meaning that could frighten the child or soothe the child. That's the importance of sound. In the 22nd Surah, 61st ayat, look at what Allah says. That is because Allah merges night into day, and He merges day into night. And verily, it is Allah who hears and sees all things. You see the order He puts it in? He didn't say it is Allah who sees, and that's how we might put it, because we think seeing is superior. Allah says, it is Allah, truly, it is Allah who hears and sees. That's that awareness that I was talking about moments ago. That's that consciousness, that universal cosmic consciousness that we identify by the name and with the name and in the name Allah. The allowance. Allah is the allowance that the source creator gives us to grow into certain aspects of knowledge, certain avenues of investigation. You can't learn anything. You can't gain any knowledge. You can't even have feelings if it weren't for what Allah created in you to support and sustain those feelings. But it happens because people learn how to listen. Remember what your grandma used to tell you? Said you got two eyes and one mouth. You know, well, no, how'd they say? She said 2 ears and one mouth. You should listen more than you talk. That's grandma's wisdom. And in Surah 31, Ayah 28, look at what Allah says. And your creation, this is what I was referring to earlier, or your resurrection is in no wise but as an individual soul. For Allah is He who hears and sees all things. See what Allah says? كنفس واحدة كنفس. Prefix, not just nafs, not just soul. كنفس. What's that ka doing there? That ka as a letter is your hand, the palm of your hand. So why is that important to understand? Because your hand comes in pairs. And you use your hands in industry, in agriculture, in all of these different fields of knowledge and science. And originally, we used our hands before we started using machines to pick vegetables and fruit and all of that. We used our hands to weigh and measure things in agriculture. You weigh this fruit against this fruit, and the heavier fruit was considered to be the more valuable, and you had to pay more if the weight was greater. So the hands, in essence, were used as a comparative to compare things. So Allah says, كَنَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Your creation or your resurrection is compared to the individual soul. So you think the individual soul is something that's plural, that there are all of these different souls out there. But there's an aspect of the soul that Allah is pointing out here in the word wahida that represents the sameness. You know how the Arabic word sama means sky, but it means the vastness of the sky. It's describing the sky as one thing. The sama, and that's from where we get the word in English, same. It's the sama. All of the sky looks, you can be in China. And the sky looks the same as when you're in Kentucky, when you're in Oregon, when you're in Harlem. The earth looks different. The places you go to, the mountains, oh, they don't have that in Oklahoma. They don't have that in Philadelphia. But the sky looks the same. The the sky, it looks all the same. And in the eyes of Allah, so to speak, all of the souls look the same. So he's judging you and charging you with the responsibility as though he's judging and charging one nafs. Again, it's beautiful when you understand it, if you understand it. In Surah 67, Ayah 23, look at what Allah says. Say, it is He who has created you and made you grow and made for you the faculties of hearing, seeing, feeling, and understanding. Little thanks it is you give. So Allah He's letting us know that we are very unappreciative for these gifts, for being able to hear. Every morning we wake up. When I wake up now, I have a little interference in my hearing. I have to wait for my ears to unstop. They're like clogged up every morning for about, maybe after 5 minutes of being up in the shower or whatever, they just poof, and they just unclog. But I'm so appreciative now for myself being able to hear clearly. And how much appreciation am I going to have for being able to hear, period? When your ears become so clogged up that you can't hear the person talking to you and they're in the same room with you know how valuable that hearing is. And then there are some people who can't hear at all and never did. And they still make it, they still function. But how gifted, how rewarded are they being able to still function in the world and can't hear? Some of them can't see. So the point is that as William tells us on a regular basis, every time we meet, we have to be thankful for the great gifts that Allah has rewarded us with in this life. Things that we didn't even ask for, but they are here at our disposal, like being able to see, hear, touch, feel things, have feelings for things, have understanding grow within our vessel. We know now what we didn't know last time we investigated that. Those are gifts. We're looking for the big things. Did Allah give you a new car, brother? Did He give you money in the bank? I'm not going to continue asking Allah for things that I can get myself. The bird is not out there begging Allah for no seeds. Bird doesn't have a Walmart in his neighborhood, but he has no fear of not being able to eat the next day. Some things Allah has put within your capacity that because we don't know the process for obtaining those things, we become despondent and we think that Allah is against us because we don't have money. We don't have new clothes for our children. And what I'm saying to you is that there's really no reason for you not having those things if the bird has them. There must be something missing in our process for obtaining those things. There's something wedged in between that's not allowing for the connection that we need to obtain those everyday ordinary things that help us to not only survive, as Karima was telling you, but to eventually thrive. But the thriving has to first take place internally. If it takes place externally, it's going to be short lived. I promise you that. We can look at the superstars in the world today and verify that. In one lifetime, they come into millions of dollars and then leave here with just several $1,000s in their bank account. I'm not even going to name any names of superstars and stars, some of whom recently left here who were cash poor after 50 years of being an international entertainer. purchasing record companies worth billions of dollars. They had half the stock in those record, but they were cash poor. I don't know if you know the difference between cash poor and resource rich. You can be resource rich. You can own the copyright to the patent to the that's Elon Musk's situation. He's not cash rich. He can't go to the bank and get $1 trillion because he's a trillionaire or was a trillionaire a minute ago. So we don't know the difference in these nuances. And because we don't, we really don't appreciate the things that we do have access to. And the formulation or the formula for being able to obtain these things that you want, even in the material world, is to follow the process of establishing yourself first on the internal level. That's what the Quran is here to provide for us. The keys and the clues to obtaining the internal gifts, the internal rewards for understanding ourselves as an abstract being first, and all of the rest of the things will take care of themselves. And I think there's just this one more ayah. Verily, we created man from a drop of mingled sperm. It's called a nutfah, in order to try him. So we gave him the gifts of here. Here it goes again. Look at the order: hearing and sight. So this is telling us, in essence, that if you don't know how to listen, you're done. You're nothing else we can do with you if you don't know how to listen. No matter how brilliant you think you are, if you don't know how to listen, if I don't know how to listen, and I just want to talk, speak, I'm finished. Adolf Hitler, he liked to talk a lot, but he didn't look like he liked listening to people. There are people right now in government, they like to talk a lot, but they don't like listening to their advisors. And they make independent moves like nobody else should be able to tell them what to do. When that happens, it's just a matter of time, as Brooke Benton once said in a song. It's just a matter of time before you run into that brick wall. Let's continue. Al-Hijr, the rocky tract. Look at what Allah says. And we have bestowed upon thee these 7 oft-repeated verses and the grand Quran. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا 7 مِنَ الْمَثَانِي وَالْقُرْآنَ الْعَظِيمِ, and the grand Quran. Al-Mathani has to do with a dual presence, being 2 of something. The Sab'an, that's the 7. But that means that those 7 ayat that you have, that you point to in Al-Fatiha, they have dual existence. So they're really 14. Because one is addressing the mundane, one is addressing the literal, and the messages you get from studying the literal object, and the other is dealing with the internal. So let's continue. And the grand Quran, of course, is grand. You think it's those 114 surahs, don't you? No, it's grander than that. If all of the oceans were ink and all of the trees were made into pens, and you were to times them by how many? 7. The same 7. Never could you exhaust the words, see, the kalimat of Allah. That's grand. There's nowhere in the Quran where Allah says the Quran is 114 surahs. We made that up, the human. Allah never said that. I need to stop and pause sometimes so some of you don't choke. Because we've been told these things for years. And I'm not saying that to say that's wrong or they taught us incorrectly by saying there are seven ayat. No, there's seven ayat, but that's not the important feature, is my point. The important feature is what I just said to you a minute ago, that Allah said, if all of the oceans, do you know what an ocean, have you been on an ocean liner? Have you looked from the beach and looked at the Atlantic or the Pacific or the ocean, the Indian Ocean, to see what an ocean is? Now, to know what that ocean is, do I have to go sail the seven seas or the seven oceans? No, I don't. All I really have to do is get a little dropper and take a drop of that ocean water to my laboratory, and it'll tell me what's in all of the other water sources around the world. Isn't that beautiful? All I need is a sample because the same chemical constitution for what's in the Atlantic and what's in the Pacific, with very little variations, water is water. I can take a sample from your eye drop, from the tear that you shed, and it'll tell me what's in all of the other tears of people who cry. Yeah, because you are wahida, you are nafsan wahida. You are one soul. So would I find one place with very little differentiation and delineation and all that, minus that small section of differences that we have, on the most part, we are all the same. We are all the same. So here are the seven categories that we spoke about earlier that the human mouth is able to pronounce. Vowels, which are open-mouthed sounds. Labials, which are lip sounds. Gutturals, throat sounds. Can somebody give me a quick example of an Arabic word that begins with a guttural?
Ryan.
Yes, rain. Hope y'all got that. While we're at it, give me a word that begins with a labial. A lip sound.
Beitun.
There you go. Give me a word that begins with a liquid sound. Liquids are the sounds of the R and the L only. Those are the only two liquids in the Arabic vocabulary.
Rabbil.
Falak.
Yes, come on, keep them coming. Abu, you were
Falak.
going to say? You said, what did you say?
Falak.
Falak?
Falak. Falak.
Alak. Is that what you're saying? I can't hear you clearly. Spell it for me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're saying that it's in the word or that it begins the word?
It is in the word.
Yes, that's correct. That liquid L sound, falak, is in the word. Can somebody give me a liquid that begins a word?
Rab.
He did. He did already. Yeah, he gave me that one. Yeah, our instructor
Rahman,
gave us that. Yeah. So Rab is one. Habiba?
Rahman,
Yeah. Rahman. Ar-Rahman. Yes.
La,
Yeah. As small as that word is, right? Yeah. All right, let's go to the nasals. Give me some words that begin with nasal sounds. What are the nasal sounds? Which letters?
Meme,
Nisa.
Yes.
Noon,
Yes.
Nisa.
Yes. Nisa. And meme, as she said. Excellent. Celia, thank you. What about dentals? Teeth sounds.
Dean,
Vakar.
Dean, Dean,
Say it again.
Dean.
Dean, for sure. That's dental. Anybody else?
Vicar.
Vicar, yes. The DH sound is also a dental. That's right. If you're only speaking English, you won't know that. But yeah, but it's also T, the T sound. It's D, D-H-T. It's also Dod as well as Dal. All of those sounds, as long as you need your teeth in order to pronounce them, it's a dental. And lastly, give me a whistling fricative.
Shams.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, both of
Nafs.
those. All three of those. Nefs, that S sound. Shams, as someone mentioned. All of these letters.
Shaitan. Hmm.
Say it again now.
I said shaitan.
Yeah, shaitan. Yeah. The SH sound, that's right. As well as the S
Shajar.
sound.
Salah.
Say it again.
Shajar.
Salah.
Shajer, yes, absolutely. And I can't hear what you're saying,
This is Salia. I
Salia,
said
Salia.
Salah. Salah.
Salah, yeah,
Salah.
okay. Yes,
Salah.
indeed, indeed, yeah. That's a whistling fricative. Because if you say it slowly to yourself, you'll hear the whistle. Just say it to yourself. You'll hear the whistle. Or if you say, shh, you hear the sound of the seashore as it comes into the beach. And all of those actions are registering meanings in the human intellect, not in the intellect of the baboon, not in the intellect of the falcon bird, in the intellect of the specially created human being. So humans started calculating those meanings when they would pronounce those sounds, those 7 sounds, n, n. And they realized that when they said n, that letter nun, the nasal nun, they realized something about themselves. That this N sound was registering in their nasal cavities, in their nose cavities. And they could feel that reverberation when they would use words that began with N and M. You can do it right now to yourself. Just say it to yourself on mute, hopefully. But that's what they're doing. They're registering of certain feelings in you. And we would go on to develop words that were connected to those feelings that were registering in your intellect. And the intellect began to become curious. And from there, we got thousands and thousands of words that utilize these sounds. But in the Arabic language, they happen to be able to maintain their purity. And this is why I believe the Arabic language is the language being used, not because it's the first language on earth. Is the first human creature on earth the best human? That would be the baby, the infant. He might be best in terms of his purity, but he's not the best in terms of his contribution. Leave the baby there to make his contribution, then introduce an adult human who's been thinking for 20 years and let him make a contribution. The first one, that's not the superior human. We just have it backwards. Black man is the first man on earth, the original man. Okay, let's say that's true. All of that, but that doesn't make him the best human. He's the first in the progressional line of humans. And because he was first, he contributed mostly to a particular standard of behavior that young things contribute. More ambitious, more ready for battle. I mean, there's certain things that people who were here thousands of years ago, that's just natural to them. No matter where they are on the earth, that's just a natural thing to them. Creativity, the children, you go into the art class and you see the children in, 3rd grade and 6th grade. Oh man, their artwork is all over the room because they're very artistic people. But it doesn't mean they're the best humans. All right, let me get off of this subject.
Instructor, don't get off yet.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The letter mean is listed as a nasal, but
Yes,
it's also a labial.
that's correct. So let me
Okay.
explain that.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
there are some letters that share their characteristic. So although I'm saying to you that the letter ba, for instance, or in English, the letter P is a labial, some of these letters are commingled, meaning they're not only labial, but they can also be another letter. The attributes of that letter are combined. So that's true. But if you look it up in a real good linguistic dictionary, they'll tell you that it's a bilabial and not just a labial. That's a good looking background you got there, Celia. I need somebody to do something with my background here. You know, I've been fuzzy for too long. But we're gonna fix that. And I got to get my nunetic sign up here. All of you who have the nunetic sign behind you, I applaud you. I just don't know how to do it in my computer, believe it or not. I'm good with nunetics. I'm
I
not
think,
good with that kind of stuff.
Brother
Yes,
Bilal,
yes.
Brother Bilal, if you look into your Zoom app, you might find some backgrounds. There might be some options for that.
Yeah, all
Or
of the
maybe,
options I came across, I don't like. I
okay,
specifically want the nunetic sign that they have. And I know that has to be put into my background images. So I'm not trying to do
okay.
it
So that,
just by guessing my way. But Adam and those people who are not here right now, they know exactly what to do with that. Yeah, but I appreciate that. Yeah, they'll know what to do. But
maybe you
Adam is
can,
on a little vacation. When he gets back, he can do it 1, 2, 3.
or maybe for that time, till that time, you can make a banner and put it in the background.
No, I don't want to do that. You know how a woman will say, "I want what I want. I want what I want when I want it." I don't want to have to change it if I do it a different way. I'll have it. I have my nunetic sign and other things. I just don't want, and I can't unfuzz my background because I don't like what's in the background of this room. This happened after I moved, so I wasn't able to replicate what I had when I was at my other address. But it's not a big deal. It's not. I think most of you know that I do teach nunetics. As long as you know it, I'm good. All right. But I appreciate the assistance. Thank you so much. Let me continue. Okay. The name of a thing is what we're talking about now. The name of a thing designates its nature. Give you a quick, for instance, in English, somebody named that wooden object out in the forest a tree. Now, if you listen to the sound of the word tree, it sounds very close to the word three because the letter T interchanges also with the TH sound. So some people from the West Indians, when they're telling us something about the number three, they'll call it tree. I have three brothers or three brothers, right? They won't say brother, they'll say brother, duh, brother, brother. My brother said. People from different parts, the islands and other parts of the planet, they interchange these consonants all of the time. We don't notice it because we're not trained to pay attention to how people speak necessarily. We're just trained to mock them if they don't speak like we speak. But in what they're speaking is the science of their language group. There's a science in there. So the name of a thing designates its nature. So it doesn't really matter if it's T or TH or D or DH, it's still pointing to similarities in what the letter means. That category I'm talking about, the dentals themselves. What does being a dental mean? Because it's those 7 categories that you're drawing the major meanings from. All of the rest of it is window dressing, is just the nuances of that sound. The behavior of a thing is that thing's attribute. An attribute is a thing allotted, paid, or given as a tribute. You see, attribute is given as a tribute, especially to a fellow tribe member. That's why the word tribe is an attribute and attribute. See, the word tribe is right there looking at you. And a tribe is any group of people who have traveled together, particularly for local purposes, such as hunting, fishing, fighting sometimes, ceremonies that you have, weddings, that kind of thing. School, learning, certain things. It's basically the same people who kind of look alike or they're not that far from you. When you go to school, it's not people from around the planet, it's people from your locale, your vicinity, your immediate vicinity who are attending and learning those things. That's what makes you a tribe. A tribe is not just a family. In fact, tribe is really not a family at all. You don't have to be genetically related to each other at all. You can be from somewhere else, but as long as you're in that location and you're growing up in that location in the same space and you're sharing the same foods and you're sharing the same skills, you are a part of that tribe. So that's what a name is designating. I want you to think about that when we say we're using the attributes of Allah. We sometimes say the 99 attributes, right? Every Arabic letter represents a part of the human body, and every body part has its own unique set of attributes. These parts are then to be assigned to the human personality. Let me explain what I mean, and this will be a lot of help for you when you study on your own. So if I'm describing Aleph, and I say that Aleph represents the human spine, look at how much we have to work with when we're depending on the fitrah for our explanation. Somebody give me some attributes of the human spine right now. What does the spine do is what we want to know.
Keep us upright.
Yes, indeed. Keeps us perpendicular.
It
Anyone else?
houses the nervous system.
That's right. That's right. It handles the nervous system. And keep in mind now that it's not just the spine bone.
Mm-mm.
What else is connected to the spine?
The spinal cord.
Yes, indeed. A lot of people miss that part. The spinal cord, and the spinal cord is not a bone.
Mm-mm.
See? So you have a hard part called the bone, and then you have a very flexible part, although the bone
Mm-hmm.
itself is flexible. But the
Mm-hmm.
most flexible part of that is the cord, and that's really what's registering the nerves.
Yeah, that's essential. Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right. What they call the CNS in medical language, the central
Mm-hmm.
nervous system. But I can stand up with it, as Abu just mentioned, right? Keeps you upright. But I can also
Mm-hmm.
temporarily bend over.
That's
Now,
right.
if I bend over and I stay that way, I have an issue. That's a
Yeah.
medical issue.
Yeah.
You know, you see some older people like that, right? They're walking and they're
Yeah.
bent over. They can't stand up straight,
Yeah.
right? But technically, we're supposed to be able to bend over, tie our shoe, or pick up the money or whatever, and stand back up straight because the human being was created to be upright.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you see how these concepts are now contributing to our human excellence?
Mm-hmm.
The sign that Allah packed into these things are contributing to the human excellence. When we see the human being as a creature who was born to be upright, he has to grow into it. He's not born standing
Mm-hmm.
up.
That's right. And flexible. Yeah.
That's right. He can do this or he can do that.
That's right.
Like that song says. He can get with this or he can get
Here's
with that.
one
All
thing
right.
to
Yeah. You don't have to be one way. You don't have to all dress. You know, there was a time in America when most people used to dress basically the same way.
Yes. How boring.
In the Muslim world, there are places where everybody looks alike. Same
Mm-hmm.
dress, especially the women. The men have some options, but the women, they got to be all black, face covered. So there are people who want us with that level of rigidity. That works for them. I say, Alhamdulillah. I ain't here to argue with that. I'm just saying that the human being was born with options.
The baby, when it begins this first walk, to have that balance in that child's life.
That's right. And what contributes to that balance? What contributes to the baby being able to walk? Think about when your baby first started walking.
That's the
What?
equilibrium in the ear.
Yeah, but for them to get that equilibrium, do you remember?
Mhm.
I'm trying to do it so you'll understand what I'm talking about. Here's your baby stepping independently for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
What did you notice about that child?
It's almost like they were thinking about every step.
Okay, so they're
Mhm.
thinking.
Mhm.
There's something going on in the brain that's
Mhm.
contributing. What used to happen if you would interrupt that baby with some sentence or something that was non-related to their effort to walk?
They would sit back, that they would sit down. Naturally, they would just fall back down.
Flop. They
Mhm.
flop down on their butt.
Yes. What would
Yeah.
happen in some cases if you tried to help them walk?
Mm. They some of them would made fuss at you.
There you go. We're talking about the human personality now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Everybody don't want welfare.
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
That's what I'm calling it. Everybody don't want unnecessary charity. If you need it, that's fine. Baby's got a problem with his spine or her spine, that's different. But if the baby feels in their inner core that they can do this independent of you helping them,
Mhm.
leave them alone.
They
That's
they
right.
they snatch their hand away and start walking in the
You
street.
know the deal. They
Say,
That's right.
surely will.
"Oh
You surely will. And they'll even in their own way ask you to be quiet.
Lord."
That's right.
You start talking to remember the silence we talked about earlier? The
Hmm.
hearing that's
Yes.
necessary for the growth.
Yes.
So they don't even want to hear you at that moment. They're like, just let me do this. I can do this on my own.
That's right.
Next thing you
Some
know,
of them
they're
will
up.
snap
They
your
take,
hand.
yeah, they'll slap your hand, or they'll take a few steps and then fall on their diaper,
That's right.
and then try again. All
Hmm. They're persistent. Yeah.
right, so let me try and finish
Hmm.
this up because we've been here long enough. I think most of you got the idea of this lesson. But the example of what we're talking about is the word Ab, which, as you know, is the word for father. Aleph is the spine we've been talking about. And when you study the spine, it implies leadership. It implies because it's the leading bone in the human body, the leading set of bones in the human body. It implies rigidity, as someone said earlier. They're rigid, but they're also flexible, as someone else said, right? And they imply order. The spine consists of 33 vertebrae that are the leading bones in the skeletal structure. And they are specifically ordered as frequency regulators and modulators. That's what I want you to study between now and the next time we meet. That the spinal column, they call it, the spinal column, Column. I think Allah says He created us with a column, Qalam. All right, just trying to give you some hints here. If the spine is damaged or removed, the body can and or will lose its life. I could lose my arm and all of the bones attached to it. It doesn't necessarily threaten my life. I could lose my leg, all of the bones, thigh bone, shin bone, the whole knee, the toes. I could lose the whole leg, right? But it doesn't necessarily threaten the life itself. But if you get your spine broken in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong amount of severity, you die. That's an important thing.
Instructor,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt you, but you have typed, and they are specifically order.
Thank you, sir. You know, I work on my notes all the way up until the time of class. So I change things and forget to do the whole thing. But thank you for that. You make me look good. That's what we're supposed to do. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. Thank you for the correction. Yeah. Yeah. So they are specifically ordered as frequency regulators and modulators. That's what your spine does. This is why so many people in religion have the number 33 built into their religion. The Masons have 33 built into their religion. Jesus supposedly lived for 33 years, right? According to the Christians. So they have this number 33 built right smack dab in the middle of their explanations for what Jesus did and what the ancient Egyptians were doing, and with the building of the pyramids and all of that, because these things are based on the human body. Jesus and what he represents is connected to the human spine. The crucifixion of Jesus is connected to the crucifixion of the energies that come along with the human spine. There's no single person out there who's the concern for if he was killed or not killed on a cross or anything like that. How many people were killed during American slavery? On a tree, hung on a tree. How many of those? What's the difference between being hung on a tree and killed on a cross? The same wood. So that's not the point that scripture was trying to make, especially the Bible in this instance. We're just trying to tell you this particular man or prophet or son of God or whatever they call him was killed. No, those energies, once they kill those energies, you out of here. And many of the people now, especially in the Western part of the world, have been crucified on the cross. Because if the spine is what helps you to become upright and remain that way, and you look at the crime that's in society, you'll know that this society has been crucified because they are no longer in that agreement to remain upright. All you got to do is turn the light off. We look out here and we say, no, this is a civilized society. Everybody's getting along. We drive down the street. Let just a minor situation happen in the street and watch how many crazy people there actually are out here who won't obey the law. Just let the traffic lights go out and see if the people keep stopping and allowing people to. No, people go berserk in some places, but it's only in those places where they don't have that internal gauge operating in them. It begins on the inside of you. Civilization, the Muslim nature for peace, wanting peace, all of that happens inside before you can ever claim it as an outside force or entity. So the letter B, is any object that fills up, empties, and replenishes repetitively over and over again. The house became its main symbol. Today, the Arabs and the Hebrews say that the letter B or the word bait means house. That's the first meaning they go to. But they don't know that before it was the house, it was a part of the human body called the testicles that fill up with the spermatozoa, empty out during what they call coitus, and then replenish almost magically. There's nothing outside of you that's giving you more sperm, but it's just a natural process that Allah created in the fitrah to just replenish millions of sperm. And that was the original B in the Arabic language. I guess they became shy. They wanted to stop saying that to people. But that's the original B. When put together as a word, it means leader in the house. Aleph, leader, bait, in the house, Ab. And that came to be known as father, Abu, or Abi, Ab. That's how we consider the leader in the house to be the leading personality, the one giving us the security the one giving us direction, and all of the rest of the things that the spine does, whether it's in the male or the female, but it's typically spoken of as a masculine duty to protect. So that's where we're going to stop today. I hope you've had a good time along with me. I've had an excellent time. You can speak back if you want to or need to. And I need to hear from you now more often when it comes to what you are picking up about these lessons, as we call them, because I want all of you to be satiated. I want all of you to be satisfied at the end of these sessions. You're taking valuable time out of your lives to be with us. And I want to make sure that you're progressing at a level and on a level that you can appreciate and use. That's the whole point. You need to be able to use this information, right? So let's get some feedback. What did you get out of today's lesson?
Assalamu alaikum, Dr.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
It's coming together through the repetition, the things that we've gathered from the beginning about the body parts, the 7 points of articulation, looking at the spine as being a central nervous system coming up in the back of our brain, and it allows it allows me to look deeper with every letter. Not trying to be deep, but it just opens up. It's like uh, 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 I call it the nasal, like uh, what's the thing that get our nasals, opens up our mind, open up our nasals when we congesting.
Oh yeah, the
Vapor rub.
decongestant.
Yeah. But say it again.
Vapor rub.
Yeah.
You said Vicks.
Allows us to open up
Yeah.
with the noon and the
How many
mean
of
for
us know
me.
about Vicks?
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah, Vicks
Yeah.
vapor.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you do it for the nose too, it's like the Fitra is the filter that opens up our mind.
That's the connection I want you to make. The fitra doesn't let everything in.
Mm-hmm.
The intellect is not supposed to let everything in.
Mm-hmm.
It filters out what's
Mm-hmm.
unnecessary,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows to stay those things that contribute to its success.
Mm-hmm.
If we would learn how to do that as a community of Muslims or a community of African Americans, or wherever you're from, and your group of people, if the groups of people would learn to do that, we'd have a better world almost overnight. Just decide we're only going to let into this conversation those things that actually practically benefit us. And we're going to keep out, doesn't matter what skin tone you carry, or what hair texture, or what land you're from, we're going to keep out of this conversation anything that goes against this progress. If we did that almost overnight, human beings, and I think a day will come in the Quran, I believe Allah is calling it Yawm Deen, the day of Deen, or the day of resurrection in another case.
30-30.
Yeah, that day is coming, but it has to happen for you first
Yeah.
internally,
Yes.
is my point. It'll happen out here, but not until it happens in here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Allah,
have a
Allah will not change the
Yawmuddin,
condition of a people. 1311,
okay?
853, till he changed
Until
what's
they
in our
change it,
own selves.
what's in our own nafs. That's right, in our own souls.
Shukran.
That's where it begins.
I did
Yes.
a lot of research while you were speaking, but I'm just going to simplify what I got was that when you were speaking about silent and listen, and I concluded that silent and listen makes the person, and I've gone into great detail about that using surahs and ayahs from the Quran, but don't, I'm not up to sharing that right now. It's quite a bit
No,
to
but
digest.
when the microphone is in your hands, you will share that. It might be as soon as a week from now.
I will
What they
share it, but
what
it's
what
really
they call a
it,
week. No, we're gonna
it's
do it when you have a platform where the ears are specifically tuning in to hear what you have to say.
I concluded from your talking that
Hmm.
listen and silent means person. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you. You see how
Like
shy
James
she is?
Brown, please,
you,
don't go.
You see how shy she is? I like that
I
though.
know, I don't know. I
No,
really,
that's a virtue. That's a human virtue.
alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Because what she's saying is I'm the same as all the rest of you. I don't need any special spotlight. But again, that's the same thing the sky says. I look the same everywhere you go. You don't have to keep looking up here at me. Right? But the word gave us the word same,
That's it.
sama, and it also, the word sky gave us the word shy.
Mm-hmm.
The K and the H are gutturals. Sky, shy. They don't want you looking at them either. Right?
Absolutely. I'm writing this down. You ain't getting this from me. I'm writing this. I ain't letting this slide.
All right.
We
Hey,
we say
Bashir
give it up and
has
turn
his
the
hand raised. Yeah.
page.
Bashir, go right ahead, sir. Where are you?
I just want to
Yeah,
say
that's it.
I want to say that I've been around since the 90s, but I can say that I've been around since the early 2000s since you've been doing this. Uh, uh, when our members that have passed that were here before and been listening to you when you were in New York and meeting with you in Charlotte a couple years back and hanging out with you and your wonderful wife and breaking bread and brother Adib is right on point. Brother Hassan, brother Abu. I've never talked to these people in person before,
Mhm.
but they're my people. I just want to
Absolutely.
tell you, I have that bond with them, and I appreciate who they is and who they ain't. Karima, Genius, Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Abdullah, all these are my wonderful friends
Yeah.
and playmates. So,
Mm.
we just share the sand. We
Yeah.
just share the whatever that is that they put into this they
You're
place.
sharing the one nafs because you're all the same. And as long as you get to know the person who is inside of us, you don't have to have met physically. You have met me. If you meet my personality, my
Yeah,
proclivities, my emotional self. If you say something online that gets on my nerves and I blow up at you, it's the same as if you were here and you said something that gets on my nerve and I blow up at you because I'm talking to the same person. There's
yeah,
very little difference between when you have to meet somebody in person than when you have to deal with somebody online. People take liberties online because they know if they say something funky, you can't catch them. You can't go get them. What did you say? People say stuff on Facebook, and I say, I know he wouldn't have said that in that guy's face. That guy's
Facebook,
big. He's not
Facebook.
going to say that in that guy's face. But people will, they'll say what they think they can get away with online that they won't say to you face to face. So we have to make the adjustment to only say that in somebody's uh behind somebody's back that we would say in their face. And you will only say it if you thought you were right and if you thought it was going to help improve your relationship. If not, zip it. I'm at the point where I'm not even contributing to conversations that I know I can't win and that I know I'm not going to make a positive contribution to. I read through even the hadiths that they've given us, and I never see an instance, somebody can correct me if they know better. I've never seen an instance where Muhammad the Prophet was arguing with somebody. Was he disagreeing? Yeah. Was he arguing? That back and forth stuff we do in the hood. Was he doing that? I don't think so, because he had an elevated nafs. That's what I'm looking to accomplish. I want my nafs to be decorated, just like in the army. When you come out, you say, oh, he's a decorated soldier. Look at the things he contributed to. Look at how he saved lives. That's what I want people to say about us. Look at how they saved academic lives all over the country, all over the world. He went out of his way to help that sister understand that lesson. You might not see that as being a big thing. I'm telling you, you guys are the new heroes in my book. I don't care what other people think or say about that. You are the new heroes, the ones who come in first to save the day. You are the Mighty Mouse people in my life that are here to save the day. You understand? That's
Yeah.
just how that is.
I think my mom wanted me to be intelligent, and that's it. She just wanted me to
Yeah.
be able to have a conversation, be able to have conversation and be intelligent.
Yeah, I think
Not
she's
to be a
gotten
damn fool. Not to be a
she's gotten
damn
her
fool.
wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're extremely intelligent. All the time I've known you, and the
I
rest of you,
think
same thing, same thing.
I
This is a
I
beautiful
think
audience.
I think the Nunetics class members will be the people who are globally known as those who want what is right over being right. In other words, we want what is right over wanting to be right.
I
Maybe,
love the way
maybe
you
I
put
don't know.
that. Well, I love the way you put it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
because
understand that.
you talking about those people who want to argue. A lot of times, it's the person's ego and their fragile egos that, in the face of being proven that
That's what
they,
that is.
of course, they get even more adamant, right? And I
That's
think
right.
when you look at it, you say, "Wait a minute." I had a brother tell me, say, "Well, we were talking about facts." So I said, "Well, facts change," and he got upset. Man, he said, "Facts don't change. That's why they call them facts." And I said, "Well, just a minute. What are facts? Let's find that out first. What are we talking about?" And I say, "If a fact is something that's man made, and since man is always changing and evolving, then but he got hot, boy. He said, I can't believe you of all people saying something stupid like that or whatever. But his he was hurt. I think egotistically he was hurt because I
Yeah,
think if he looked back at the conversation, I mean they've got books now that outdated. It's a book of facts, right? This
sure.
is
Yeah,
wrong.
that's right.
So anyway, so I think
People conflate fact a fact with the truth. And
mm,
even the truth is not always consistent because as you said,
That's true.
knowledge, knowledge, it, we talk about everything starting from a seed with Nunetics.
mhm.
Well, that means that when you plant it, it's going to grow. And when you come back to it in 2 years, it's going to be different. It's going to present a fruit. It's going to present some type of foliage, some leaves or something. It's going to be different. Doesn't mean it's not the same thing. It only means that everything in this life that Allah created as life grows. And people need to accept that. It's not going to be just like the knowledge we're reading from the Quran. Think about that. It's not the same as it was 1400 years ago when we were reading the Quran.
That's right.
Doesn't mean they were wrong and we're right. No. Doesn't mean they were right and we're all wrong. No. It means knowledge is going through the same evolutionary process that all information goes through. It's evolving. So again, even the truth is going to look different when you look back at it. That's why you need these seed letters to be able to trace its origins. And if its origins are way away from the fitra idea established by that part of the body or by that idea, that's when you have to question it. Say, well, where did you get this meaning for this word in the Quran that you're giving me? We are all at the point now where we can look at Nunetics and say, okay, this means that, and that means the other thing. So where's the connection in these objects that these letters represent and in what you're giving me as a meaning for this word? Where's the connection? If you can show me the connection, then I'll leave you alone. And I'll say that's a perfect contribution to what we're trying to establish. But if you can't show me any connection, it's just your sheikh said it, your mullah or your rabbi, or your minister, your priest said it. That's not good enough. Anyone else before we close out? Because we got to go.
We were
Yeah,
always,
just
oh,
Muhammad Alam Ali.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Muhammad is being a gentleman. He's waiting for you.
Mine is brief. We were always taught when we were younger, the only one and the only existence that's absolute is Allah. So we say that, in Allah we trust, everything else we audit.
And the word ordered is connected to the word audio. That's why we say we have heard and we obey. That's auditing. We ain't listening to everything. just because he said it. Not, I don't mean Allah now. I mean, just because people say it, we don't listen to what they say just because they said it or because of his title. We have to audit. But when Allah speaks, we have heard, we audit it, and we agree with all of it. And we're just looking for the best way to implement it, the best way to be obedient to it. And the best way to be obedient to the frequency of Allah is to match that frequency. Then you will find non-stop connections when you make the connection that we call the salat. That's when you'll find that Allah does hear you. When you're on, if if you're trying to get this radio station WCBS, but you're not on the right frequency, you're never going to get it. It doesn't matter that you're a good person. You're on the wrong station. You got to learn where that station is on your dial. You can't go by his dial. You got to look for it on your dial. So I'm just here trying to provide a healthy dial for all of us to tune into so that the frequencies can line up, and that's when the connections will begin to appear. And you'll know it when it happens. You'll know it because it's already happened. That's what brought you here. And that's what's keeping you here for as long as all of you here have been here at least a year. Some of you much longer. What's keeping you here? I don't have millions of dollars. I don't have boats and planes and ships and cruises and all that we have to go on every year. And we do go. I don't have all that stuff that other people attract you with. So what's keeping you?
Something far more valuable than money.
Absolutely. Money's good now, don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
that's not the thing keeping us. Right. I think Gary Wayne has his hand raised. Yeah, Gary, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just got a question on you mentioned that English is an abstract language, and in the word abstract is the first two letters are AB, just like it would be AB, house, father of the house. So I'm just looking at that word abstract and how, when you say that English is a abstract language, how is that related to the aleph and debate?
I'll give
And
you
that
some guesswork, and then I'll give you the real meaning. The guesswork would be is that abstract language gave birth to another language. In the child, abstract language is born out of literal thinking. That's why if you talk abstract terms enough around children, they really get confused because they think you mean actual things you're talking about. Because literal language has to be here first. Umul Kitab, the mother of the book, the muhkamat, the establishing wisdom in language, that this means this, and that means that. And then as you continue to investigate knowledge, the knowledge begins to open itself up to you. Just like a person, when you start dating, you don't know that much about her except how she looks on the outside. That's what children know about language, what it sounds like on the outside, right? So if you say, this is a stick, but then later in your life, you use a term that you're using the word stick, but you don't mean anything that has to do with this wooden stick off of a tree. You say, yeah, I just stuck it to him. I got stuck with the bill. Abstract language. But it's the son and daughter of the basic language. That's my guess. That's not me reading it from a book. That makes sense to me. But I do know that in the construction of language, because they come from so many other languages, especially the English language is called a bastard language because they pulled from dozens of languages to create English. It's like a Frankenstein monster. And they did it in a way where you really can't even trace it directly. So you have to use some other means or some other apparatus or some other logic to be able to put these words together. There are a lot of people who do language in these books who have to have question marks behind a lot of the things they're saying. We don't know for sure, but we guess that, or it's possible that. See, that's how their language is put together. So
I
that's
think I was just thinking something real quick. That prefix in English, AB, before words, could possibly still be the father or the leader of the word that comes behind it, meaning obstruct, abhorred, that prefix AB
mhm,
probably related to the Nunetics AB,
very possible because these are human sounds in the mouth. They have nothing to do with Arabic or English or French or Kiswahili. They don't have anything to do with these languages. It have to do with what these words and sounds suggest to the mind. See? So if I say puff, it means something to a mind. Say that in front of a child and they blink, what? What's he talking about? Puff, puff, push, bash. These B's and these P's as labials are indicative of things that intrude upon other things, that push their way through. There's a book, I keep forgetting to look it up, but I'll bring it to you. If you remind me, I'll bring it to you the next time we meet. But it's dealing all about these words that contain these consonants and what each consonant actually means. Not in the nunetic sense. I use some of that, but not in the nunetic sense, in the sense of how English was structured and where these English words come from and why they begin with certain letters, why they end with certain letters. And this woman goes deep into, her name is Margaret somebody, I forget her name, but she goes very, very deep into the study of language. So it could be true that the AB means what we're believing it means. It can't mean something that much far distant from it because the letters are what are giving it its meaning. So if it's AB in English or AB in Arabic or AB in Hebrew, it might not be the direct meaning or the same exact meaning, but it's going to be a related meaning. That's been my discovery. So Gary Wayne is absolutely right in that sense. You can look at it like that. And then the other side of that is that even if that's not it, then you've just made a very important contribution to language if you discovered that. Let's say nobody was saying that, but you said it. That's your discovery now. And what if that helps you and your community learn language in a way that nobody else is learning language and making connections that nobody else has made in language? You're still ahead of the game. See, to whom much is given, much is asked. But a lot has been taken from us also in the learning process. Times when we couldn't go to school, we get shot for going to school at a time in this country not too long ago. You remember the little girls trying to get into school, they had to have armed, who were the soldiers and stuff. They had to be out there in front of a school because of 40 little girls wanting to go to school. That's our history. So how much has been kept from us from people not wanting to share information with us? So what do you think Allah's going to do when it comes time to open up the portals of wisdom and knowledge and academics? He's going to pour it on us like he's doing now with the Nunetics. I'm not surprised at this at all. Okay. I hope that was enough of an answer for you. Anyone else before we close out?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Muhammad Alam Ali. Yeah, I would like to just say that
Can you get
what
more
I've
than your
come to
forehead in the
understand
picture,
is that
Muhammad? I don't know
I'm
where you're
having
at.
problems with this
Stop.
camera. Yeah, I'm having
Okay.
problems with it.
Okay, go ahead.
So, but what I've come to understand is once you understand the language, and when we understand there's 7 points of articulation that comes from the human mouth, you see that language automatically language automatic human family.
I lost some of what you just said.
Did
It
you
was
hear that?
garbled. So repeat it. No, repeat the last part of
Okay,
what you said.
okay, okay. I was saying that the sounds of language, it
Yeah.
automatically connects you to the human family. Automatically, you're automatically connected. And with sound, you can explain every scientific phenomena in creation.
You have to give me more of an example of what you're referring to. I'm not clear.
Well. Okay, okay. When you explain things, if you explain matter, if you talk about the sun, if you talk about atoms, if you talk about photosynthesis, these words all come from sound. And what I'm saying is, and that's the sound itself gives you the ability to explain everything in matter, everything in creation.
I want you to do a one-page paper on that concept and give me at least 3 examples of words that I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that's an interesting hypothesis. And you should be able to back it up
Okay.
with at least a 1 to 2 page term paper on that subject. That's where I'm leading all
Well,
of you guys. See, I'm at the point now where I'm going to stop just accepting it because people say it. But
okay.
if you're that adamant about that point and it sounds like you've done some investigation into it, then I just want you to write it out and back it up or modify it as you write it out and say, well, no, I wasn't right about this, but let me change this to that. Those are the kinds of people we need in the class right now. And Muhammad, you're doing that already. You send me papers all the time, so I'm not talking about you particularly. You just caused me to remember that that's what I wanted to ask all of us to start doing. You see
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
and praise be to Allah. And I back up what Bashir Muhammad said about the people, about the group. I appreciate listening and talking to, and I've developed a friendship and a lot of understandings, and I've grown tremendously with the people that I've talked to,
That's a mercy.
including yourself. Praise be to Allah.
That's your reward. And less than 6 months from now, I want us to
No,
translate all of this good feeling that we're having for each other into cogent direction
in the room.
for this group. Somebody's talking in the background. I want you to translate all of this into detailed, cogent, intelligent strategies for us advancing this class forward. Is that too much of a challenge? What I'm asking you to do, especially you, Mohammed, is do what you've been doing. We just need to share it with the group. Habiba, you do it in words. You do it sometimes in a quick text. Ahmed, you do it all of the time we talk. Karima's been doing it, and she's been here the less amount of time, I think, than most of you who are here. But you know how much she contributes.
I think we
And
all got to start writing more. I know I don't write at all, so I got to start
that's
putting
right.
it down, documenting. So this is good
Yep.
for me
Yeah.
to start getting. I'm getting educated. I'm getting more educated. So,
Uh-huh.
but now I got to step up and start typing some stuff.
Yeah. Even if
Instead,
it's just
instead of
words to begin with, just words to
yeah,
begin with, words that come to your mind.
yeah.
Then we throw that out as a discussion and other people can contribute to it. And before you know it, you got a book.
Yeah, yeah.
No
I'm gonna get
exaggeration.
started right away
All right. So that's what I'm expecting a month or two from now, 6 months from now. I'm expecting to see that kind of progress. All right.
this week for me.
All right. I'm
Is
gonna
that
have
so?
William. I'm gonna have William hold you to that now. He hears this.
This week, this week, I'm
Okay.
putting it down on. The
And
Well,
class may not know that I did submit the Nunetics book in audio form. I don't know if you remember that.
I
you
do.
so
I do.
love
Yeah. Yeah. So
that.
you got to remind me of these things. We can dig them back up, or if you still have them, resubmit them, and
Yeah,
let's do some bigger work now that everybody's
yeah,
ready for it.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
folks
Your
can.
brains have been to work on this for a long time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not pretending like nobody's done anything. A lot of you have done a lot. I'm trying to just bring it all together now.
Hmm.
well, we can do more. We can
Instructor
all do
Bilal,
more.
Instructor Bilal does, as in the case of everybody, will not live forever. But in the event that I leave here more sooner than later, I want to be able to have you guys say, here's what he left us.
There you go.
I'm not
So
asking
we,
for that much more than that. Here's what he left us. Here's what I learned from him.
alhamdulillah.
I've given you all that I need to give you as far as the information goes. I haven't given you all that I have, but I've given you all that you need to know from my storehouses of study, contemplation, and all of those other things. I need you now to start looking at it, relooking at it, reflecting on it, and writing on it, and
Yep.
begin to give me back in sentences, if not paragraphs, what I gave you. That's fair exchange.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Do I have permission to leave now?
Yes. Salam
you
alaikum.
you better leave before Karima come and get you.
Well,
No,
she will be shortly, but somebody Celia, is that you in the background?
that's me.
Okay, you want to say?
Saying salam alaikum. You have permission to
Oh,
leave?
yeah, well, not yet, because one of my master instructors just showed up, William. So I have to
Yeah,
hear from him first.
I just want to, in closing it out, uh, all potential excuses to not uh, comply with the request you just made, whatever excuse the person might be considering, I'm going to eliminate it right now. If you need any help doing what he just asked you to do, contact me. I'll help you. That's it.
Okay.
Peace. Yeah, peace, everyone.
Yes, indeed. Thank you all for being with us as we greet you in the greetings of peace that obligate each and every one. I'm going to start emphasizing that word, that obligate us to keep the peace, keep the cohesion, the wholeness, the completion of what it is we're attempting to do. And those words are Salamun alaikum.
Alaikum
Alaikum
assalam.
salam.
Salam.
Thank you once again. All
Salam.
right.
Have a spectacular day.
You also. Thank you for that. That was
SubhanAllah.
sweet.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.